www.kbc.co.ke to get the latest breaking news, entertainment, sports, politics, lifestyle or business trends from Kenya and around the world. Never miss new episodes from your favorite TV shows, reruns and movies. Just stream online or watch live on your YouTube channel at KBC Channel 1 TV shows. For the day's biggest stories, trustworthy news and family entertainment, log on to KBC Channel 1. Watch what you want anytime, anywhere.
Divididos por una sombra de traición.
I won't. I am not accepting it, and I will most certainly not stay quiet about it.
Please, Grandma.
Lying.
Alonso, can we talk?
I'm not interested in talking.
I'm going to do everything in my power so that I can break up this forced engagement. I won't allow my grandson to suffer like his mother did. And I promise you they won't.
Promise that not only will I give you back your dream, but that I will also be a really big part of it.
Bora nimkose mimi. Hakuna mtu mwingine yote atakayempata.
Binadamu gani wewe? Kwa nini uko hivi lakini?
Nimekuwa wewe. Saona, hiyo ndio shida yake.
Mipango yako isokwisha hii, ujue mwisho atakutumbikia nyongo.
Akikuona wewe unajifanya ni mzuri, kumbe hana adabu yoyote. Huyu ni kama samaki mbovu.
Time for your favorite show on the land. This is Good Morning Kenya, broadcasting live from Broadcasting House. This is KBC Channel 1. On this 14th day of Monday, we all know what the date is all about. Yeah, we all know. All right, welcome to the show. My name is Victor Lo. Please tell us where you're watching us from and let's get the show on the way. But before then, the entire crew is here with me, starting with Jen. To the left, there you have her.
But I'm on the right, on the screen.
Yes, yeah.
Top of the morning to you and welcome to the program. I am Jane Wamboy. This is Good Morning Kenya. Once again, it is the 14th of February 2021. Happy Valentine's Day. We do hope it will be a beautiful day as it is, expected. Research shows that actually red is the color of love. That is a fact that has been backed by scientific research. But all that will be coming up in not too long. Welcome once again, Doreen.
Red is the color of love, but royal blue is the new red for Valentine's.
But
Regina is here representing. She has been representing since last week. Nonetheless, we are all here, regardless of the fact that it's Valentine's, to give you nothing but the best. We have so much in store for you this Monday morning, and we urge you to stay put up until 10 a.m. Many thanks for making time. I'm Doreen Arange Okello.
Good morning. It seems I received the memo. It is the 14th of February 2022, and it is Valentine's Day.
And you're in red.
And I'm in red, yes.
Representing.
Oh, yes. We have to. Love wins all the time. It does.
Love wins.
Actually, we have a whole newspaper here that has detailed, high spenders during this season. I know a couple of men joined the men's conference. It's still ongoing. They'll be back on Wednesday. But nonetheless, we're going to be here, and love makes the world go round. We talk about money, but look at it this way. If you do not love money, or the love for money, then would the world still move around or revolve around money? Love is everything. Look at it that way. And talking about money, there's the issue of matters of the heart. There's also a pullout in one of the dailies that actually shows that grief and stress can actually have serious implications on your health status when it comes to your heart. We're going to be keeping tabs on that as we proceed with the news this morning. Just to inform you that we are live and open to your feedback. You can get us on Twitter at KBC Channel 1. I'm also on Twitter at Ray Manyara. We have updates in regard to that particular accident that took place along Maimahi Road. So do keep us company, and your feedback is what we look forward to this Monday morning, which happens to be Valentine's Day. Good morning once again. If you're tuning in, this is Good Morning Kenya on KBC Channel 1, and I'm Regina Manyara. Now we start off with an update where several people sustained serious injuries when an LPG truck that had tripped over was being hoisted back to a crane along Maimahi Road, a few meters from Kamandura Junction in Limuru County, Kiambu County. Now, at least 6 of those injured were taken to Tigoni Hospital, while others were taken to Thogoto Hospital and Limuru Nursing Home. Here are the scenes and sounds of what was happening on Maimahi yesterday.
These were the scenes at Mutarakwa along the Nairobi-Maimahi Road following the explosion of a gas tanker. The tanker was ferrying liquefied petroleum gas LPG from Mombasa to Kisumu when it overturned.
Gari hii ikaaguka, mimi kwangu nikasikia mgurumo, nikafika hapa kwa sababu ni mita chache kutoka kwa police post ya Mutarakwa. Askari wa Mutarakwa akakuja kaanza kuzuia watu wasikaribie.
Hours later, when it was being cleared off the road by a crane, the tank and gas cylinders placed at its rear exploded.
Management of that company brought in a crane that was to transfer the tank kutoka kwa ile gari ilipata ajali kwa nyingine yenye sasa ilikuwa ipeleke huko Kisumu, but kwa bahati mbaya iliweza kupata leakage na mlipuko.
Kwenye tanki hiyo gesi imeanza kutoka. So gesi kutoka inatoka, sio? Kuna boma pale chini, kulikuwa kuna washo moto. Nje. Ile sasa ni nje ama ni kwa boma. So hiyo moto ndio imevuta.
Juu hiyo gari ilikuwa imekaa hivi. Si unaona venye imekaa pale kwa mti. Ilikuwa imekaa hivi. So magari ilikuwa inaona inaweza pita wapi? Mwisho. So kama moja ya askari imechomeka. Hiyo gari moja imechomeka. So hizo zingine askari wametusaidia sana, zilikuwa zinapita pale.
Adjacent vehicles caught fire and 7 of them were reduced to shells. 7 people were injured. Area residents are now calling on the Nakuru and Kiambu county governments to establish a fire station along the highway to minimize the damage in the event of a similar incident.
We need, as a county, as a constituency, to have measures in place to ensure that we prevent disaster.
People who are doing it were not properly armed for such an outcome. Some of them were even hurt. That's why we said we need even better training for the people handling such cases.
Well, so much conversation has come around that particular accident, with a majority of Kenyans coming and saying that this particular accident would have been avoidable, the explosion that is, and also throwing caution to the wind by bystanders remaining to even take pictures and videos of that particular incident. They will be keeping tabs on that, with calls to have a fire station erected around the area. Now we cross over to matters politics, where Homa Bay Women Rep Gladys Wanga has launched her bid for the county's top seat. This follows the Azimio la Umoja campaign that took a turn, or rather was visiting Homa Bay County. Here is Achola Simon with the details of what went down yesterday in Homa Bay County.
Homa Bay County Women Rep Gladys Wanga's official launch for her gubernatorial bid provided the perfect platform for the Azimio team to continue drumming up support for Raila Odinga.
Kupigia Raila Amolo Odinga kura, wewe ni adui wetu.
Wapi kelele yake baba Raila Amolo? Kule kwetu Wamijikenda wanasema mgala karemwa achiremwa naocha. Yani anayetafuta hachoki, akichoka amepata. Jamii ya Waluo na Kenya at large tumetafuta uraisi, tumehangaika, tumekula matia gas, tumekula fimbo, tumekula bunduki, lakini sasa wembe ni ule ule, kutesa kwa zamu. Zamu sasa ni yetu katika Azimio la baba Raila Amolo Odinga.
Unlike his opponents, the team maintained that Raila provided the best bet to propel the country to the next level.
We will bank our hopes on Baba, and in Baba we trust. We know that Baba is going to introduce free health care in this nation. Wamama wote ambao watataka kujifungua watajifungua bure.
Sisi tunataka maendeleo, tunataka Baba kwa sababu ya Baba Care, kwa sababu wa mama na watoto wote watachungwa vizuri.
So everyone who loves devolution must support Raila Amolo Odinga to become the 5th president of the Republic of Kenya. Ama namna gani?
He maintained that the ODM leader was not a government project and challenged Deputy President William Ruto to embrace the government failures just as much as he wants to embrace the success. Gladys Wanga promising to change the fortunes of the county by creating jobs for the youth as well as...
Which is the next county for woman governor? Which one? I want to tell you, you have to support your fellow women as aspirants. Haijalishi mama anasimama kiti gani, simameni na wamama wenzenu ili tuweze kuendelesha hii Kenya mbele. Isikuwe tumekuja kumdanganya hapa leo. Tusikuwe tulikuja tukajaza hapa kiwanja. Ninawaomba tumalize hii maneno, sio tarehe 9, tumalize kwa nominations. April tufunge hii kazi. Ama anga kwa ofisi ya governor. Ni hii kitu iko hapa kwa kichwa yake inaitwa akili. Hiyo ndio yako nayo mingi, ataenda kuwafanyia kazi. Umar. Kitu ingine iko kwa hapa inaitwa roho yake. Roho yake ni mzuri sana. Anapenda watu wake na atawafanyia kazi. Umar. I will create jobs. An estimate of 20% of our county is currently unemployed. We must create jobs for our young people. We must look at the border sector and see how to make it better for our people. We must bring a fish processing plant here in Homa Bay County. We must make the blue economy a story of success in Homa Bay. We must protect our fishermen from invasions.
Now, quest for the Homa Bay seat, Wanga will fight it out with former Nairobi Governor Evans Kidero and last General Paul's run-up for the same seat in Homa Bay County, Oyugi Magwanga, among others. Achola Simon, Homa Bay County.
Now, that particular gubernatorial seat had attracted 13 candidates to, square it out, or rather take up after Cyprian Awiti. Now, Gladys Wanga has thrown her hat in the race. We'll be keeping tabs on that. Remember, day in politics is quite a long time. Now, still keeping up with matters politics, Deputy President William Ruto, NC Party leader Musalia Mudavadi and Ford Kenya's Moses Wetangula have pledged to end conflict in Kerio Valley once elected into office. Kenya Kwanza leaders who took their campaigns to Baringa County said their government will come up with a Marshall Plan to ensure peace prevails in the area, which witnessed losses of lives and property due to constant banditry attacks. Ben Chumba with the details.
Kenya Kwanza Brigade, led by Deputy President William Ruto, took the Hustler Movement campaigns to Baringo Senator Gideon Moi's backyard to popularize the bottom-up economic model and their political pact.
Earthquake! Earthquake!
The leaders who attended a church service at AIC Kapropita held a series of rallies at Ilngarwa in Ilchamos, Mariga town, before addressing thousands of supporters at Kabarnet Showground.
Baringo amjambo!
The Kenya Kwanza principles promised to end perennial deadly conflicts in Kerio Valley, which has witnessed loss of lives and property as a result of cattle rustling.
Kuna watu wanataka hii Kerio Valley ibaki nyuma ili watu wakwame wakipigana na mambo ya umaskini na kuibiana ng'ombe. We are going to stop that nonsense because we want to change the destiny of the people of Kerio Valley from Baringo, Elgeyo Marakwet, Turkana mpaka Samburu.
Kwanza tutahakikisha tunaleta usalama wa kutosha by deploying security. But that is a very short-term measure. Lazima to tackle the root causes of this insecurity.
Sisi tunataka kukaa kwa amani, tunataka kuhakikisha kwamba Kerio Valley hii imekuwa the valley of development, the valley of peace.
Deputy President William Ruto told off a section of leaders accusing him of failing to deliver on his mandate as the Deputy President, saying they have no moral authority to lecture him.
Wawache kuniambia maneno kuhusu serikali. You have no business giving me a lecture on a government that I formed with Uhuru Kenyatta. You are not there. You know nothing about this government.
The Kenya Kwanza team threatened to abolish the competency-based curriculum CBC, saying it is a burden to already struggling parents.
Lazima tutaipika musasa tuone kama inafaa wa Kenya ama haifai wa Kenya. Kama haifai tuibadilishe.
So while that is happening, what is happening to the One Kenya Alliance? Now, according to OCA Principal Kalonzo Musyoka, he says that they are forging ahead, especially with his quest for the presidency. The Wiper boss said he will not be coerced into abandoning his quest for the top seat.
But you will overcome.
One Kenya Alliance principal and Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka was at the Ego Christian Church International in Karen for the Sunday service. Kalonzo taking on 3 Ukambani governors, Alfred Mutua, Kivutha Kibwana and Charity Ngilu, who on Saturday accused him of his lukewarm stance on his political path. The Wiper party saying he will march on to the ballot.
People saw that I could go into politics. It's because I consider it a calling. If it was not a calling, I would never have gone there. And this is why I've remained there, because I believe that God can use you wherever you are to make a difference.
He urged the church to play active role in country's politics, saying he will not embrace people motivated by negative energies.
Avoid negative people. I will take that with me. Avoid negative people. Because there are so many people spreading negative energy in our country, everywhere. If we can avoid negative people, we would have a wonderful nation.
The Wiper leader said the church must be at the center of the national discourse to guide the country towards a cohesive and peaceful elections as the country's political heat rises by the day.
We can embrace that oneness, one nation, one people, and a nation under God above everything else. This is why our Constitution 2010 recognizes the supremacy of God.
Well, it seems that OCA principal there, Wiper and Wiper head Kalonzo Musyoka is reading from the same script from the Democratic Party of Kenya presidential aspirant Justin Muturi, who maintains that DP will not fold up. Well, that is what is happening as far as the DP party, or rather the Democratic Party of Kenya, is concerned. And we still train our eyes on matters politics, where now a section of leaders allied to the Azimio la Umoja have accused the Deputy President William Ruto of engaging President Kenyatta in a supremacy contest. Now, leaders who accompanied Laikipia Governor Nderito Mureithi to the launch of his campaign for a second term in Nyahururu rallied area residents to support ODM leader Raila Odinga, who they say will ensure continuity of President Kenyatta's legacy.
The Azimio troop landed in Nyahururu, Laikipia County, to jubilant supporters who had thronged the Nyahururu town grounds, the venue of Governor Nderito Mureithe's launch of his second-term bid in Laikipia. Courtesy of his position as the chairman of the Raila Odinga campaign board, top luminaries of the Azimio movement were here to make a statement, each taking a swipe at Deputy President William Ruto, whom they accuse of disrespecting the president.
Unajua hata mimi nilikuwa na noma na Uhuru Kenyatta, sivyo? Lakini noma yangu siku mtusi, nilikuwa namwambia usinidanganye, hiyo sio matusi. Nilimwambia hujaleta maendeleo, leta maendeleo, sio matusi. Lakini hilo nimeona saa hii ni matusi of the highest order. Na mimi nataka kuambia William Ruto, tafadhali heshimu viongozi.
Matusi kwa Rais Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta hatutakubali. And we want to tell the Deputy President, we want to warn you, the Deputy President and your troop, that hautakuwa unatukana mkubwa wako Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta kama tunaangalia. He is not your match. He is not your match. Alikupatia kiti ya Deputy President lakini huna heshima.
Ukiona mwanasiasa na yeye ni naibu ya rais akiamuka, kazi yake ni kumtusi yule ambaye ni rais wa jamhuri. Sasa wewe kijana au mimi, je, atakuheshimu wewe?
The leaders called on area residents to throw their weight behind ODM leader Raila Odinga, saying he would safeguard President Kenyatta's legacy.
Nimeona juzi kama huyu William Ruto amekwisha hapa Mount Kenya, kura yake yote imehama imeenda kwa Azimio. Wananchi wa Mount Kenya yote wameingia Azimio. Sasa wameenda kutafuta reinforcement na support kutoka Mudavadi na Wetangula, watu ambao walikuwa na sisi, ambao ukiweka hao kwa ratili hata watoshi mboga.
Kuna watu kazi yao ni matusi, na sisi tunasema hatutabishana na wao. Sisi tunataka maendeleo.
Watu wa mlimani ni watu wajanja sana, wanaweza wakakuangalia, wakupigie mahesabu, wakusikize, lakini mwishowe watafanya uamuzi ambao utakuwa bora kwa maisha yao.
Nderito says he would ride on his transformative record in the last 5 years to secure the prosperity of the people of Laikipia through improved agriculture and the economic empowerment of the youth and marginalized groups.
Tunajua kwamba bei ya fertilizer iko juu na lazima ifanye nini? Ishuke. Lazima tushukishe. Tunajua pia nyinyi wakulima saa zingine mnapatiwa mbegu fake na hawa watu wa wash na hawa watu wa kujaribu kutajirika haraka. Tunataka upate mbegu halali ili mkulima akipanda anaweza kupata mavuno.
The launch of his gubernatorial bid for the second term, the task for Nderito Mureithi becomes more onerous as he juggles between campaigning for Raila Odinga and his second bid. John Jacob Kuria, Channel 1.
Now, quite a breather from matters politics, and we look at where we are when it comes to matters of the family setup, where the World Marriage Day was marked on Sunday amidst growing concern over the increased case of divorce and intimate partner violence, which has claimed many lives. Speaking during a special mass to celebrate the institution of marriage at the Holy Family Minor Basilica, Bishop Philip Anyolo challenged couples to remain resilient and to collaborate in resolving their differences in a bid to protect their marriage.
I found somebody who cares.
A happy ever after is the dream of every couple that walks down the aisle. A dream that is, however, increasingly becoming unrealistic if the latest trends in marriage is anything to go by.
When I found you, I found love.
The rise in divorce cases, intimate partner violence, marital infidelity, and financial squabbles, forming part of the long list of reasons why marriage is not an option for many people, raising concerns about whether the institution of marriage is on its deathbed. Meet Joseph Kinyanjui and his wife Teresia Kinyanjui, who have been married now for 50 years. The couple share with nostalgia the secret behind their blossoming marriage, which they say has not been a walk in the park.
The institution of marriage is not easy.
It's difficult, but with God's grace, you can really make it. First of all, when we got married, you know you are new, you don't know each other. But when you come to stay together, it's the time you start knowing one another. And if you know one another, you'll be able to travel together.
First of all, I thank her for journeying with me all that long. And I ask for prayers from her, and as I pray for her, we continue.
Joseph and Teresia are among tens of other couples who chose to commemorate the World Marriage Day by renewing their marriage vows in a colorful ceremony that was presided over by His Worship Archbishop Philip Anyolo at the Holy Family Minor Basilica in Nairobi.
God created man and he created his own image and likeness. He created that married life as an apex of his own presence in life of all the creation, and he blessed it. So I don't think in my understanding of the theology of God that he can ever allow marriage to be destroyed.
What shall I render to Jehovah?
The ceremony climaxed in the cutting of a cake to celebrate the couple's resilience in protecting the institution of marriage.
And what comes in is companionship, where people work together. I think the first thing is try to be friends with each other. Try to celebrate each other and look for what is good in the other person.
He's an introvert, I'm an extrovert. I'm a people person. Him is more of, he likes reading books, things, TED Talks and stuff like that. So we're very different. So we complement each other. Our differences, or is it our diversity, complements each other. A beautiful bed of roses, that is what many wish marriage was. But even roses have thorns, right? As we mark the World Marriage Day today, the question remains, will you continue lamenting over the thorns in the rose, or will you begin to appreciate that even thorns have beautiful roses tucked in them?
Indeed, it is the 14th of February. We celebrate Valentine's Day, and from that, a piece of advice from that couple that has been in a blissful union, not without a challenge, saying that what you need to know is to, learn tolerance and understand your partner at a time when gender-based violence, especially within the family setup, is growing rife. We need to be tolerant and cognizant to know that life is indeed precious. Now we cross over to the sporting arena, where AFC Leopards came from a goal down to register a 3-1 win over 8th placed Posta Rangers. Elsewhere, former champions Gor Mahia also displayed stellar performance after a 1-0 victory over Vihiga United. However, the match was abandoned. Now we cross over to County 001 and actually Kilifi, not too sure. I always think it's in Mombasa. Hey, stand to be guided. But now we're talking about golf, where defending champion Esther Henseleit of Germany came from behind to retain her magical Kenya Ladies Open title at the Boaba course in Vipingo Ridge, Kilifi, after carding an under par 286. Henseleit, who was not among the top 3 yesterday, managed to put up a spirited fight, edging out Marta Sanz Barrio of Spain by 1 shot. Barrio carded 1 under par 287 to eclipse Sweden's Linnea Strom, who carded a 2 over par 290. Strom, who was leading from day 1, lost grip, dropping to the 3rd position on Sunday. Sophie Hausmann of Germany and Leanne Pace of South Africa took to the 4th and 5th positions respectively. Kenya had 4 representatives in the annual Premier Ladies Golf event, but all failed to qualify for the last phase of the tournament. Focus now shifts to the men's Magical Kenya Open tournament, which will be held at the Muthaiga Golf Club in Nairobi between the 3rd and the 6th of next month. Now that puts a cap onto matters and news this morning. Remember, further details are all available on our website. That is www.kbc.co.ke. We take a quick breather. We'll be back with what is trending on our various dailies. Do not go away.
Log on to the KBC website at www.kbc.co.ke to get the latest breaking news, entertainment, sports, politics, lifestyle or business trends from Kenya and around the world. Never miss new episodes from your favorite TV shows, reruns and movies. Just stream online or watch live on your YouTube channel at KBC Channel 1 TV shows. For the day's biggest stories, trustworthy news and family entertainment, log on to KBC Channel 1. Watch what you want anytime, anywhere.
You're gonna marry Pinky? What about me?
I'll be here for you. I'll love you forever. I'll be by your side every day.
Wait and see. I'm gonna turn your life upside down.
Love, love, love.
Love is in there!
It's celebrated in all phones worldwide. There is the Kenyan love.
Looks like it's Valentine's Day.
The children's love. The ladies' love.
I swear that I'm dying to feel myself in your arms.
The gentleman's love. Love that is comic. Dramatic.
Please don't do this to me. I have to talk to her.
Sporty. Breathtaking. Whatever your choice, let it rain this February with love.
This is getting better, better and best.
Only on KBC Channel 1.
Welcome back. We now continue within the headlines. Just to have a quick look at what the papers have for us this morning. We are still using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. Our official station handle is at KBC Channel 1 across all the social media platforms. I start you off with a copy of the Daily Nation. Many stories have been captured here, but let's quickly run through them. We start with politics right there at the header on the 2022 campaign trail. Kenya Kwanza leaders led by Ruto were in Baringo, while Azimio was pitching camp in Homa Bay. And of course, they had a lot to say about each other at this particular, at the individual venues that they were at. Of course, throwing jabs at the other with the Kenya Kwanza team saying that there are plans by the Azimio and Jubilee team to rig the 2022 general elections, but Ruto did say no one will dare rig us out of this particular forthcoming general elections. Away from that, that's pretty much the only politics that has been captured here. The other story is in concern to the polls, with IEBC now rejecting the Huduma number, saying there isn't sufficient time to incorporate the Huduma number into the system, given we have less than 6 months to the election. Of course, they listed so many other reasons why it would be impossible to have the Huduma numbers incorporated this time around. So that is something that they are totally against, because it will just throw a spanner into the works. Can't work, won't work. That was, or rather those were IEBC chair's words. That is Afula Chebukati. Now coming to the other story, which is an incident that all of us are well aware of in regards to the disaster that happened with the truck exploding, leaving trails of damage and caused road closure due to that particular explosion, where a truck that was ferrying liquefied petroleum gas burst into flame near Mai Mahiu yesterday, burning several other cars and causing massive traffic that lasted the whole day. Now the other story is in regards to the state of our economy, with now CBK saying that the public debt grew by 1 trillion just last year, and now Nairobi is owed 8.2 trillion, or rather Nairobi owed 8.2 trillion by December of last year, and now the National Treasury is seeking parliamentary approval for increasing the expenditure by another 126.3 billion Kenya shillings over the next 6 months, which will most of it go towards the preparation of the election and post-COVID-19 recovery plans by the government. The other story concerns the judiciary, where they're also now seeking more funding, and to be exact, 1 billion Kenya shillings to pay the new judges. These are the 34 judges that were appointed last year around June, and most of this money will go towards getting them cars, fuel, medical allowance, and maintenance for these cars as well. And they also want another 106.5 million Kenya shillings that will be geared towards election-related expenses. That is the front page of the Daily Nation for you this morning. Victor.
And on the front page of the Star here, cracks emerge in Azimio campaign. Cracks emerge on Azimio campaign. The void left by Raila Odinga's absence from the rallies has worsened the situation. Some of the party bigwigs feel increasingly left out of planning meetings. That is what's on the front page of the Star newspaper. And of course, we have got a picture there of that tanker that exploded yesterday at along the Mai Mahiu Nairobi highway yesterday, and 7 people were confirmed to have sustained injuries after the incident. Okay, Raila in India to benchmark on 6,000 shillings welfare plan. Former Prime Minister Raila Odinga is in India actually to benchmark one of his agenda to support and boost poor families should he be elected come this year, August. He is in India, and actually India has been touted as one of the countries that has so far sustained this, the social welfare project in the world. Again, today is Valentine, and there is something that's happening at KNH. Kenyans urged to donate beds to KNH today. This is a program that started sometimes late last year, and so far they have received over 61 beds, and they're still urging more Kenyans, instead of showing love in terms of flowers, chocolates, dinner, and what have you, you can donate a bed to the Kenyatta National Hospital. Their target is to have 2,000 beds at the facility there. All right, very quickly to the next page. Ruto in week-long bliss ahead of Kenyatta tour. Today, the Deputy President will be in Nyeri County. Tomorrow, that's on Tuesday, he will be in Kirinyaga County. On Wednesday, he will be in Murang'a County. On Thursday, Embu County. On Friday, Kiambu County. And finally, in Thika Stadium on Saturday, 6th. Now, this comes at a time tour comes days after President Uhuru Kenyatta actually held a meeting with hundreds of youth from Mount Kenya at State House, and it's also expected that the president will meet other leaders at Sagana sometimes next week on a day and a date to be confirmed. That is to pitch tent there in the mountain region, and actually support Honorable Raila Odinga for the presidency. And finally, Raila benchmarked his 6,000 plan. I've talked about that. Uhuru free to benchmark his choice according to Azimio leaders as far as that is concerned. And finally, KNCHR treated as outcast in state circles, says Mogesa. He notes that problems of agencies start with the delays in appointing of commissioners. We'll be giving more details as we continue the program. Doreen?
COVID jab drive for 15-year-old, and this is an initiative or a project by the ministry to ensure that they boost the numbers of Kenyans who have received the essential COVID virus. So far, at least in Mumias West Sub-County, they have confirmed 10 schools whereby they will be administering the COVID jab, and parents are expected to give their consent, at least for their children to be vaccinated. Again, like I mentioned, to just ramp up and ensure that they reach the target or the level that they need to be able to reach when it comes to COVID-19 vaccination. Also, Oka Azimio talks rocked by 3 billion bribery claims. So far, the Wiper leader, Kalonzo Musyoka, is still non-committal. This is when it comes to which coalition he might choose to join. And this just goes after his counterparts joined UDA to form the Kenya Kwanza Alliance, and because of his non-committal, leaders of Ukambani region are now claiming and saying that he is demanding billions of shillings for him to join Azimio, and on the same breath saying that he is giving too many conditions before he gets to join Raila's coalition. So what does this mean when it comes to Wiper party leader? Is he set to join Azimio, or what exactly does all this mean? Only time will tell. To some bit of education matters, the ministry says that they are now all set for the March national examination. This is the KCP and KCSE, which is set to begin in March. And Class 8 candidates will sit for their KCP beginning on March 7th, while KCSE, that is the Form 4 candidates, will start their exams on March 11th. Even as this is happening, the ministry has also mentioned that they're also preparing for November-December exams, which is again the next set of exams, which is supposed to also take place during this year. And part of what also came out is that all exam centers will have at least 30 candidates, and for those that will have a lesser number, then they will have to merge these candidates, and all this is trying to ensure that they promote efficiency and deter any exam malpractices. So that is what is coming up when it comes to the education sector as it pertains to those national exams. And lastly, the National Council of Churches of Kenya, that is NCCK, have come out to give their sentiment or their views concerning this year's elections, and also the relationship between the president and the DP, saying that it is high time they mend their relationship, citing that they are a symbol of national unity. So it's very important, even just when it comes to the public eye, that they mend their relationship. And also they mentioned that they are not satisfied when it comes to IEBC preparedness as it pertains to the August 9th general elections. Part of what came out is that they say that Kenyans need to know the action taken, the action that IEBC will take when it comes to prevention of what happened in 2017, and this is as it pertains to the repeat of those elections. So they are saying that IEBC also needs to come out and show their preparedness, because for them as a church, or the body that represents the church, they feel that they are not as prepared enough, knowing fully well that also the election fully relies on how IEBC is preparing or has prepared themselves. That is how it looks like this morning on the PD. Ray.
Now, a sneak peek of what we have on the Standard this morning. Typically, the question that is highlighted here on the front page is about what do the citizens, what does Wanjiku want, what does the voter want ahead of the general election, which areas need to be fixed. According to this particular article, Kenyans want poverty eradicated, and this is by creation of jobs and a better education. They want the economy fixed, agriculture revamped, and steps taken to reduce inequality. The figure is 16.5 million. Kenyans hold the same amount of wealth as the two richest people in the country, thus exposing the high levels of economic inequality. At the same time, there's a question of numbers. Which area, which county, which tribe, so to speak, holds the swing vote. According to this particular article, Kenyan politics is more like an ethnic census. Given this scenario, some regions are poised to play a major role in influencing who becomes the 5th president. And this is about the numbers. As we came to a close of last week, a report was made public about, which counties and how many are registered per county. So top 10 counties in as far as vote numbers, Nairobi included, it was a clear indication that Mount Kenya, indeed, there's quite some number there. So this particular daily continues to crunch the numbers there and trying to play, so to speak, critic as to where these numbers are headed and who controls what. Tyranny of numbers. We've had it in the floor of parliament. We're likely to hear it in the campaign trail as we continue focusing on that. And also in one of the highlights there, and this is what is happening in Canada. In as far as the standoff between protesters and the Canadian government is concerned. At the same time, also, we have Biden asking Putin to stay put in as far as his invasion of Ukraine is concerned. These are some of the stories that have captured the eye of the scribe this morning, given that it is the 14th of February 2022, a day where the world marks Valentine's Day. And curiously, so to speak, there is an article that shows a correlation between stress and grief fully affecting your heart. So kindly avoid all negativity, and love is not just for one day. It should be something that drives you every morning. Love for your family, love for your neighbor, love for your work, love what you do, then I think would be on the same scope. I'm Regina Manyara. I wish you a pleasant viewing and a happy Valentine's Day. I leave in the able hands of our traffic marshal A1 to take us through Monday morning, being Valentine's.
Minutes past 7 a.m. Time for us to look at how the roads are looking like now. This is actually what I want us to focus on. This is a section of Mbagathi Way, right now known as Raila Odinga Road, and this is what I want us to look at. This is that footbridge which was installed and opened up to the public as at around September, August last year by Kura. So this is how it initially looked like. They had to demolish this section or this particular footbridge just because of how it was in a very poor and bad state. Oftentimes there was a lot of garbage, especially on those areas where pedestrians used to cross over from one side of the road to the other side, which forced and prompted a good number of those pedestrians to end up using the road, which is Mbagathi or the Raila Odinga Way, instead of using that particular footbridge. And this is part of what put this road as one of the 74 roads that were mentioned by NTSA as black spots. That are just some of those roads that record high number of death cases. This formed part of those 74 roads because of that lack of using that particular bridge, and hence ended up to use on the roads. And again, this is part of also why it was necessary to deconstruct this and to ensure they install at least an easier and better footbridge for Kenyans or pedestrians using this particular stretch. So this is how the new bridge looks like, and if you can notice, it's one of those different, peculiar kind of footbridges just because of those spirals going in there. And the part of why it became necessary to ensure they put this up is at least to also cater for PWDs, that is persons with disability, for those that are using those ramps instead of having to use the staircases. So this is why those spirals were put in place. So this morning we want to check how all this is impacting the traffic flow altogether. Has it in any way reduced traffic? Because part of why it was installed, aside from reducing the number of death cases on this particular stretch, the other reason was try to ensure ensure that at least they reduce the traffic flow. Now, this is basically what I was talking about. So instead of pedestrians having to use the footbridge, then they end up using the road, like what you're seeing there. And this is part of what informed the installation of this new footbridge in this particular stretch. So this morning, we want to track and check the traffic flow, that specific area, try to see how all that is changing and impacting traffic altogether. And perhaps you can begin from where the stretch starts from, that is around the city mortuary roundabout, as you head over up until areas of Timol roundabout, given the fact that that particular bridge begins from there and terminates at that particular point. Again, also putting in mind that still a lot is happening around the area of Timol roundabout as it pertains to that overpass and underpass that is still being constructed, still on its first phase of construction. This is along Langata Road. So just this is how it is looking like in terms of traffic. Not really that bad. A bit of a traffic as you near the roundabout, that is as you near the city mortuary roundabout. Altogether still moving at a very swift pace, clearly showing that the installation of that footbridge, aside from reduction of the number of death cases, one of its other reasons when it comes to reducing the traffic flow is clearly serving its purpose very well, particular on that lane that is leaving Kenyatta as you head over to Mbagathi Way there, as you enjoy the area of Langata Road there, that on that particular stretch moving at a very, very swift pace, no traffic at all on that particular section. However, it begins to slightly build up as you leave the Timor roundabout, coming all the way through Mbagathi Way. And again, it was also necessary for us to check this route, knowing fully well that it oftentimes serves as a very good alternative route for those using Langata Road, again knowing very well that still a lot is happening on that particular route when it comes to construction works there. But this is how it is looking like. Heavy kind of traffic on some sections here and there, but opening up a bit just as you get close to the roundabout there. So in between, just as you leave the roundabout up until areas of high rise on that particular section is where there's really heavy kind of traffic. But away from there, as you head over all the way just before again you get to the Timor roundabout, moving at a very swift pace, no traffic at all throughout that entire section, and that is being witnessed on both lanes of Mbagathi Way. That is how it is looking like throughout that entire stretch up until the Timor roundabout area. So if you're coming from Langata Road and perhaps you do not want to make do with the heavy kind of traffic, especially on the stretch around the Nyayo Stadium roundabout as well as Uhuru Highway, then perhaps you can use this as your alternative route. So while you just have to make do with that heavy kind of traffic is as you near the roundabout, that is as you near the city mortuary roundabout, but all through and through before that particular section moving at a very swift pace. So this could still also serve as one of your alternative routes. That is how it is looking like at just exactly 21 minutes past 7 a.m.
The process, a consignment of dried hibiscus arrived at the Kenya Industrial Research and Development Institute, KIRDI, based in Nairobi County. Hibiscus juice is either processed purely or flavored with pineapple, banana, or cocktail extracts or crushed ginger. The ginger is first thoroughly washed in clean water to get rid of any soil residue. The ginger is then put into a grinding machine and hot water is added.
So after grinding, you prepare all the ingredients so that when the water has reached 90 to 96 degrees, you start putting the ingredients now.
The process then traverses to a 400-liter pasteurizing machine, which takes up to 3 hours to heat up between 90 to 96 degrees Celsius so as to destroy pathogens, meaning organisms that cause disease.
You heat the water, to 90 to 96 degrees. It reaches to 90 to 96 degrees. You measure the hibiscus, in our case, and ginger.
After achieving the right temperature, dried hibiscus are then added to the pasteurizing machine where continuous stirring takes place. The desired flavor is also added at this stage, in this case, ginger.
It reaches to 90 to 96 degrees. You measure the hibiscus, in our case, and ginger. You have to measure according to the amount of liters you're supposed to produce.
The heating process takes an average of 20 minutes. After boiling under high temperatures, the juice extract is then transferred to the cooling tank, where the juice is chilled and later transferred to the filling tank in preparation for packaging.
After you've heated and everything, we cool. We cool up to less than or to 60 degrees Celsius, where we take it to the filling tank.
Here the process of bottling and branding commences on hundreds of bottles.
Use 250 ml bottles, 500 ml bottles, 1 liter and 5 liters.
The finished product is now packed and ready for distribution.
There was a gap in the market, literally. No one was making it. Just people were just selling the flowers. So we thought it was a very good idea.
And that is how hibiscus juice is made.
It's time for us to talk about politics on this particular day, on 14th. A lot has been happening on the political arena, and let's have to understand how it happens. You know, in communication, it's all about strategy. It's all about communication and packaging your message pretty well for the masses to understand. And that is why today I have got 3 people on set. I have Dr. Peter Mulinge, who's the leadership and development expert, as well as Daniel Orogo, who is a political analyst and a columnist as well. And the only lady in the panel today is Sylvia Mwichuli, CEO, Public Relations Society of Kenya. Welcome, gentlemen and lady.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Today we've done gender parity. Yes. The only lady, and she's in the middle. I hope you're going to have a discussion, a good one. Karibuni sana to the show. So a lot is happening in the political arena. We all know we just 6 months to the poll, and politicians are busy crisscrossing the country. We need to understand so far from the messaging aspect, because you see politicians each and every day, they have a new trend, what they talk about, how they package it, and how they deliver it to the masses. So that is going to form our basis of discussion today. But let me start with you, Dr. What do you make of the campaign statements so far? Are they hitting the bullseye each and every time they take it to the podium?
Oh, thank you. First of all, I want to take this opportunity to say thank you for calling me to this show. I want to say that it's a great honor for me to come and share my thoughts about what is happening in campaign trends to coming towards the election as it connects it to leadership. I do leadership consultants and developments, and I have been talking with quite a number of politicians and people who are aspirants who are looking forward to become governors, senators, and MPs, and also women rep and MCA. And yes, there is that mood of campaigning and trying to fight for the who is going to be the winner and who is going to get what, who is going to become what. So there is a lot of campaigning in the country, and funny enough, I think it has started earlier than we expected. We started seeing this even sometimes mid last year, and we are Kenyans. We have been receiving messages from these politicians, what they want to do, what they want to become, what do they want to achieve, what other people have not achieved, what they think they are going to achieve. But at the end of the day, you sit down and ask yourself, are they going to succeed where others they have not succeeded? Are they going to bring another change which Kenyans are expecting? Because I want to tell you, I've been walking around and doing my consultant leadership, especially with the community leaders, church leaders, religious organizations, NGOs. But when you try to sit down and listen to them, they need a change. They need leadership change in this country. And they feel that, can we have another generation of leaders in this country? But when we get the message from our leaders, we don't see if we are going to get that change. The message that they are passing on is doubtful. Nobody wants to believe it. And I, especially when it came to voter registration, I was out there and trying to encourage people to register as voters, and they're asking why should I register?
Do they feel disgruntled? Do they feel let down by the leaders?
Absolutely.
Or the politicians? Because for them, they call them politicians, not leaders.
Absolutely. They think that they feel we are let down. And they're asking, are these the same people that are going to come again? And we see a lot of messages that are not adding up. Yes. So there is. I want to say that there is kind of a confusion. People are saying, are we going to vote? Or am I going to vote? Or am I not going to vote?
Yes.
And at the end of the day, others will say, okay, we want so and so to lead us this can, so I'm gonna vote.
Okay,
so
let me bring Daniel here at this particular point. Daniel, they say propaganda sells, and in politics, perhaps they want to sell the propaganda and they want to malign the name of the opponent to gain traction on their side. But in terms of packaging and how they disseminate that message to the masses, that's what matters. My question still remains: are they getting it right?
Well, thanks, Victor. Let me first of all begin by we are coming to a weekday with tragedies of our road, so it's important that we condone with the families that were bereaved on this incident, but also trying to urge people along the roads to be very careful of these kind of things that we are seeing. It's also a pleasure to meet Sylvia again. Sylvia has been doing a lot of work in terms of messaging and branding for political leaders, and amazing work. In Daktari as well. So to the question that you've asked, the crux of the matter are here, that there is a political campaign, and there is a target, who you are targeting. And like I told you, I keep on telling you in this panel that, not only politicians are geared towards getting the masses to listen to their messages, but even more important as commissions that are involved in the campaign period, that are involved in electoral management period. And we are just coming from an enhanced voter registration system for 21 days, and the IEBC had made a target of over 5 million for young voters who are targeted to register, as a new register in the register list for IEBC. But one of the things that we can attribute that failure to is the fact that the commission didn't find it right with messaging. They didn't find it right with trying to urge the young people to take it seriously, the importance of enrolling and enhanced voter registration.
Yes.
And therefore you see there was a miserable hit on the target. And even doing a quota was a problem to registration. And then to the politicians that now we are discussing right now. While Daktari has mentioned, the Kenyan voters is systematically shifting to listening to the explicit messages that politicians are giving them. And there is no doubt that Kenyan voters would want to really find an alternative.
Yeah.
They would want to find what we call the safe pair of hands. And leaders who are able, to salvage them from this kind of economic vagaries that we are seeing. So I agree that the issue to crack an information of alternative, the safe pair of hands that, voters would want to listen to. And Victor, I was on a different set with Tom Wolf, Tom Wolf, with the work that is done in research. And they gave a research, Tifa is just about to give a research on the number of undecided voters. And what the undecided voters, according to him and his research firm, is that these people who are waiting to see who amongst the presidential candidates is able to communicate something unique that other alternatives are not offering. And that brings me back to what Daktari is mentioning. What then is the need of providing information that is relevant, tailor-made for the targeted voters so that they would vote you in? And lastly, it's here. What is the campaign messages that we are crafting?
Yes.
And let me give it to all the presidential contenders, because in the context of the people they are meeting, they are camouflaging to make sure that if they are meeting people who are from the Rift and the farmers and the maize millers, that information would be tailor-made for them.
To resonate with them.
At that specific context. If they are meeting residents and young people of Kibra, all the politicians would want to craft a message that would resonate with the urban poor, would resonate with the youth who are within those areas. Likewise, everybody, you've seen the Honorable Musalia Mudavadi doing the same. When meeting, I think, Omunyala, he dresses the same way as an athlete, to appeal to a certain constituency of voters who are the same to youth, Rao, the same to youth. So I think, give it to them. So far, all these presidential candidates, in context of who they're going to meet, would want to identify with them.
Okay.
But that is so far. That is so far from what is really expected, ideally.
Let me bring in Silvia here. As the CEO of Public Relations Society of Kenya, somebody will say, yote ni PR. Whatever they say, all this is PR. Right?
Thank you, Victor. I think that's a very serious question you have asked.
Yes.
Because on many occasions, even when politicians do say bad things or they give false promises, people say that is PR. And that is so far from what PR is. Public relations is a very serious profession that has been around for years. For example, the Public Relations Society has been around for 50 years this year.
Right.
So it's a very serious profession. And the target of this profession is to give the right information to the right people. It's about building stakeholder engagement, building relationships, managing reputations, and handling issues of crisis. When you have crisis issues, being able to communicate in the right way. It is a science and also an art. A very serious profession that tries to make sure that when there is a situation, you're able to address the situation. So when I look at the question you asked, so first, let's just debunk the myth that you cannot say it's just PR. This is a serious profession. We take years in school to learn how to do this. So,
on the side of politicians,
on the side
of the podium,
so they've got it wrong. They've got it wrong. They don't understand what public relations is, because public relations is at the heart of what they do. You cannot have a politician who is successful without a strong brand. You cannot have a politician who's successful and doesn't follow what Daniel is saying, you're able to communicate your message clearly. You're able to define that message, first of all, for the specific audience. You're able to identify who the target audiences are, and then you communicate effectively to those audiences. So the first thing that the politicians are getting wrong is not being able to segment their audiences. They go out there with a general message. You're talking to the masses. You're not talking to the masses, you're talking to a person. So you need to, first of all, invest in identifying who your audience is, and then being able to define a specific message for that audience. And now what the PR professionals do is help you do that. Be able to identify, I'm coming to speak to Victor, what does Victor like, what is Victor about, what does Victor hate, what kind of character is Victor, and then I come up with a message that targets you and that can convince you to support me. So this is something politicians need to understand, that public relations actually a very serious profession that can help them meet their
Exactly. And
goals.
Daktari, you know, you're a leadership and development expert. And, you know, when you talk about leadership, it's about, it's huge. It's not just a word on its own, the way we can say you're a leader. It's a whole kind of a block that has so many things in it. But is that exactly what we get after every 5 years?
Thank you, Victor. I think, first of all, I want to come back to what Sylvia said and my brother here. One of the things I keep on asking myself, do they really hear what they say? These politicians, when they pass a message out there.
Do they really hear what they say?
What they say.
Okay.
Because if they would sit down and listen to themselves, they would correct themselves in the next platform they will be speaking. I personally, when I'm giving a lecture, or maybe when I'm addressing people, I do recording. I sit down and listen. What kind of a message did I pass on?
Self-assessment.
You see, and then I correct myself in the next platform where I'm going to be speaking. And one of the things that I've been asking myself is this: do these politicians need a coach even to learn how to communicate?
Yes.
They need a coach. And I have been talking with them. This is something, as people, me, I do, coaching people how to speak, when to speak, where to speak. Because let me tell you, the message that you pass on impacts people's life. And it creates a platform for somebody to do something. Messages are very important. That's why I can take you to a court and sue you because of a message that you gave to me, if that message was not good. And that's why I really want to support what she does in a PRI, public relation. That is very important for any leader. And because leadership is about influencing people.
Yes.
So how do we influence people? We influence people with the message that we give them. All this and let me tell you, if we give a bad message or an unfavorable message to the people, that is what they are taking out there. Remember that leaders, they have, I want to say that leaders, they have that kind of attraction that when they speak, people seem to say, yes, this is what I want to do. You see? So what kind of a message can a leader deliver? And me personally, let me tell you, Victor, I really want to welcome and to advise politicians to seek coaching in communication. They really need it. Because the message is that...
Do they even come for it?
They have been inviting them, they don't. And I remember 2012 or 2017, I called one politician and I told him, I'm going to give you free services. And at that time I was not in the country, I was in the US.
Yes.
And I told him, I was living in the US, and I told him, come on, let us strike a deal. I'm not going to charge you. I charge here, but I'm not going to charge you because I want you to become a better politician. To coach you to be a leader, to coach you to know how to communicate, to coach you to know how to deliver your message.
Yeah.
Because the message that you would want to, you know, there are some, actually, let me tell you, the way I see it is only by God's grace. This country, the messages that these politicians give is a recipe for hatred, it's a recipe for war. The messages that they give.
And perhaps if I bring Daniel here, because when you look at this strategy, what each and every politician or each and every wing they use a particular strategy. We talked about it sometimes back. When you look at the deputy president, for example, he tried to split his campaign team, and there were chaos sometimes in Westlands, until now he had to step in. Raila Odinga is out of the country for a 10-day visit in Ethiopia and currently in India. The team are split. Another one was in Laikipia, another was in Homa Bay, part of Nyanza, and what have you. But we see different pictures from different regions. How does Secretariat operate to ensure that the team remain intact, the message remains clear, you don't go outside the rail, but you still hit the bullseye? It's all about strategy.
Yeah, I think in 2017 I was in a presidential campaign, and one of the things that I advised by that time was how would you avoid divergent centers of power, you know, that are crafting different messages on the same one presidential candidate.
Yes.
Because a candidate, the candidature is the message.
The message.
Sometimes.
Yes.
And that means that it has to be consistent through. You know, Victor, I wanted to say something before then. I would, and I mentioned it, Sylvia just mentioned, Daktari also mentioned it here, that let us recognize that do we have leaders influencing the populace or populace influencing leaders? A very, very critical point of discussions always. Because, like I tell you, be it communication, be it campaign strategy, who influences who?
Who influences who?
That's a very, very important question.
It is the politician influencing the masses.
You know, it's like a debate of an egg and a chicken. Which one comes first?
Which one comes first?
Yeah, it's quite critical to find an answer to that. Because here we are at a very heightened campaign period, and Daktari and Sylvia mentioned it. You know, we've not even prorogued the parliament. It's not even dissolved. But there is high-octane campaigns already.
It's on the move.
Others began that campaign immediately 2017 elections began. Somebody was already on the campaign trail.
Yes.
Okay? So it could be very difficult right now to try to divert the candidate's agenda. Because as a campaign message, I will tell you, my message has been very consistent for 4 years. Okay? And this is the direction I think it's taking. As a communication experts and as public relations experts like Sylvia is, the challenge that you'd probably meet is when you are going to try to advise this candidate to try to be very coherent with the voters.
They'll tell you politics
They'll tell
local.
you politics is contextual, is local, and sometimes it's very difficult to change that. And I think Sylvia knows here. One at a time, we tried to advise probably a politician to try to, tally and make sure that his dressing was like the youth and his appearance was like the youth. And he knows what I'm talking about. But you see, the response we got is that I am a politician and I cannot try to relate to people who I am not like.
Yes.
It's like I would be faking. You understand? So this is kind of, and it's not only probably that politicians, many of them, like Daktari is saying, that you've invited it from classes, but they're not coming. Probably the reason they're not coming is that they're not ready, to camouflage and meet the needs of the voters. Because they'll tell you politics. If I have to win the voters, I have to be like them. You cannot advise me otherwise.
Okay.
So that's why I'm saying it is difficult now to try to tally with being, the kind of a good politician you are, very articulate, very morally upright, when The context of the Kenyan voter will tell you that we like somebody who's very aggressive.
Okay, so
and all these things.
So Sylvia, it's all politicians are always right.
No, definitely not. And I think I just want
because
to
when Dr. says that he invited one of them, I said no. Hold on, I will deliver this.
Yes.
Yes.
I think Dr. has a very good experience, and I think that's the experience that we all have. Number one, politicians do not believe that they should be able to be coached.
To be defeated.
They believe that they know it all kind of scenarios. And I can tell you what, that is a false idea. The best in class, and I want to use the best in class, who was Barack Obama. I don't think there's any politician who's more articulate than Barack Obama. He gets coaching. Barack Obama never goes for any event without practicing his speech over and over. And when he practices his speech, they talk about not just the tone of the speech, but also delivery. And delivery is very important. You can be saying the best thing, but how you deliver it really matters. So what Dr. is saying here about the need for coaching is very, very critical. I want to go to the issue that Daniel has raised. The politicians also believe that they have so much experience, they know how everything goes. The fact is, when you enter politics, you're supposed to distinguish yourself from your rivals. You're supposed to be able to demonstrate your value proposition as a leader. You're supposed to be able to demonstrate what is different about you. That is what the people are going to choose. Our politicians believe that if you have a long political standing, that is enough, and it is not. And that is why they must accept that they have to work with professionals who can be able to help them to even define how they dress. You know, there's a certain politician who started wearing red trousers and other types of things. And people are like, hey, what's going on with this guy? The reality is he was trying to resonate with the youth. There's a way the youth think, the youth culture. So if you really want to resonate with the youth, you also have to pick up their way of dressing, you have to pick up their way of talking, you have to understand where they're coming from.
And we are seeing that current because the youth forms a bigger chunk of the voters.
Yes. And so the next thing I want to say is that at the end of the day, building your value proposition, building your brand, building how you are perceived, because a brand is about building values that people, when they look at you, they know Victor is a good guy. Victor, when Victor is believable, that when he says something, we can trust him. This is a process that political communicators are able to help even these politicians to be able to change the brand. But I'm not saying that we are here to put a brush on a corrupt leader and say, okay, now this leader is now a good guy. The point is that even when you build a brand, it has to be based on the reality, it has to be based on what you have done, and it has to be based on where you want to go as well. So I think the leaders need to understand that as much as they are good at what they do, they are good at talking and issuing messages, but the messages must be to a particular audience. The messages must have an objective. You don't just go on a platform and start saying anything. Before you go there, you must have understood what it is you want to achieve with that audience that you're talking to. And this is where thinking about the messaging. Last I want to say is that one of the challenges we have in this country, and that particularly with this election, is this is the one election that had started without parties even having manifestos.
Perhaps, most politicians, they give us the manifesto towards the last days of the campaign.
No, you have to have clarity on what you want to say before you say it. This is common sense. Actually, the only party that has a manifesto as we speak is ANC. No other party has given us their manifesto. People are giving political messaging because the manifesto brings it all together. You have your clarity on what you want to achieve, you have your clarity on who you want to target, and you have your clarity on your message. So I think these parties need to go back to the drawing board, really identify what are they promising. That's why you hear somebody coming with one promise. They're only discussing one promise throughout the campaign. That's not the way it is. We want a holistic solution. We want to know these leaders, what are they really offering us? As they offer themselves for leadership, what are they promising? What is that promise that we can buy as Kenyans? And this is missing.
Doctor, do we have leaders or politicians in Kenya?
I think we would want to find the distinction between a leader and a politician. And for me, I want to say that a politician is an occupation.
Yes.
Leadership is something that everyone is a leader. It's only actually, to be honest, a politician is, being a politician is like being let's go back to the...
It's like being a journalist, because in journalism we have cameramen, we have got editors.
It's just like, something that you say that I want to become. It's something that you want to become. But when we come to leadership, or maybe to who is a leader is somebody who is the first characteristic of a leader is a leader should be a respectful person. If they misses that, then they cease to become an authentic leader. When I let me go back to what my brother and my sister saying.
Yes.
What we are seeing now, we are seeing messages being passed on by people who do not respect themselves.
Okay. That's new.
Who do not respect themselves. Because if you respected yourself as a leader, you would respect your country. That's number one. And you would ask yourself, as a leader, what am I going to bring to the people that I'm going to lead? And it's so sad I haven't done that research to know it's only one party that has got a manifesto.
Yes.
It's very, very sad. A leader always has got a direction. So if they don't have manifesto, where are they leading people? And that's why they keep on attacking one another. Because if you don't have your canvas, where are you taking people? You are lost.
Yes.
And when you are lost, then you start attacking other people. You see? And that's why you see, again, coming back to what Sylvia said is this. Politics is going on right now, people are in a marketplace.
Yes.
And because they're in a marketplace, their goal is only one thing: to become either president or to have maybe majority leader. And that is the goal of all the politicians, come whatever party you have. That's the goal, to go to that. So if we took a goat, if Sylvia and myself, we took a same goat to the market, am I going to attack the goat of Sylvia? He's trying to see how I'm going to make my goat liked, so that it can be bought. It can be bought.
Yes.
But when I turn around and start attacking, unaona hii busi ya Sylvia iko hivi, people will get confused. I'm not concentrating on my busi.
Yes.
So what I'm hearing from these guys, they are targeting either one another, they are attacking one another, instead of coming straight and they sell the policy.
And perhaps in politics, that's what sells. Let me come to you, Daniel. What are some of the red lines? Actually, what is that red line that every politician knows that they should not cross? Well, they'll attack each other, they'll do all manner of things, malign, mudsling, but there's some red lines. They know these lines that if you go past that line, that's a danger zone.
Yeah.
Do they observe such red lines?
It's a question that I have contended with.
Yes.
In campaigns, I told you I was involved in one of the campaigns in 2017. And, just like there is principles in war, that when you are engaged in war, invasion, then there are areas you avoid to invade. Refugee comes, churches, and probably where people are seeking refuge. And also you are not supposed to be attacking women and children. Generally, there are principles even in politics. The same. I mean, there is a line you don't cross. For example, by attacking your opponent's family. It's something that is generally, I know that probably is not really documented, but principally you would make pronouncement, but when it comes to somebody's family, your opponent, you restrain. When it comes to somebody's, health system, you restrain. When it comes to incitement to violence, and incitement to conflict violence, you restrain.
Yes.
But you see, these are principles that you are told not to cross over. But I will tell you that when you look, especially when in a globalized world where there is technology and people are blogging, and somebody can make a pronouncement by the button of his phone. It's quite difficult even to regulate that, because you never know who is using who to speak for them. And in the age of blogging, even if these politicians do not stand on podium to attack, but they will do that through proxies. And it's quite difficult sometimes to regulate that, because that then would be very difficult to attach specifically an attribute that comes from different any other person. But listen, we recently dealt with a scenario when either from other side, the Kenya Kwanza and Azimio, when the proponents were actually beginning, to mobilize and ethnically profile people and speak coded language, pointing towards a direction of incitement. This is what I'm saying, that sometimes it's quite difficult for us. But even in the pronouncement, even in that podium, and that's why I said here, the difficulty that public relations experts and communication advisors have is packaging these politicians. Because at that specifically point when these things are being said, it is the crowd that gives a cheer. It is the crowd that applauds and cheer you to go on. When you say Nisemen, people say Sema, and proceed.
And
you see, a politician is mixed in between, trying to get popularity and then the aura of the crowd and euphoria. By the time, and I agree with what Daktari talked about, sometimes you make this pronouncement, do you listen to them after the speech? Do you really listen that, I was overexcited, that in one way or the other, consciously or unconsciously, I incited ethnic balkanization. I mobilized people towards violence. So, Victor, I think one of the things that, all communication advisors and public relations advisors, in the context of a heightened voter system, you must really begin, and I agree with Sylvia, people need to be packaged. People need to be coached. Guys, even on what the electoral laws are, it goes down to that. On even the Constitution of Kenya. You'll be very surprised that some of these members of parliament do not even understand whether their statements are insightful, whether their statement is breach of Chapter 6 of the Constitution. They don't. And it requires a coaching to do that.
It needs a coaching to do that, but then our politicians will always say that, when I go to the ground, when I attack Daniel, that gives me mileage. All right, let's take a break, and when we come back, we're still going to talk more on strategy in terms of how to attack your opponent tactfully, but not, in a certain way that can bring animosity amongst the communities, and how to bring that national outlook during our campaign. So we're taking a break. We'll be right back.
Mimi hakuna mtu mwingine yote atakayempata.
Binadamu gani wewe? Kwa nini uko hivi lakini?
Nimekuwa mimi. Saona, hiyo ndio shida yake.
Mipango yako isokuisha hii, ujue mwisho atakutumbikia nyongo hii.
Akikuona wewe unajifanya ni mzuri, kumbe hana adabu yoyote. Huyu ni kama samaki mbovu.
Love, love, love.
Love is in the air.
It's celebrated in all phones worldwide. There is the Kenyan love.
It looks like it's Valentine's Day.
The children's love. The ladies' love.
I swear that I'm dying to feel myself in your arms.
The gentleman's love. Love that is comic.
No money, not
dramatic.
Please don't do this to me. I have to talk to her.
Sporty. Breathtaking. Whatever your choice, let it rain this February with love.
This is getting better and best.
only on KBC Channel 1.
Mundos divididos por una sombra de traición.
I won't. I am not accepting it, and I will most certainly not stay quiet about it.
Please, Grandma. Lying.
Alonso, can we talk?
I'm not interested in talking.
I'm going to do everything in my power so that I can break up this forced engagement. I won't allow my grandson to suffer like his mother did. And I promise you they won't.
Promise that not only will I give you back your dream, but that I will also be a really big part of it.
And welcome back, and we're still continuing with Eye on Politics. Today we are talking something completely different. And every politician should watch this because you're getting Class 101 for free. Okay, so let me come with you, Sylvia. In terms of strategy, from the PR perspective, we understand that PR is key and everything is PR, including the way you talk to your family members, at work, everywhere. Everything is public relations. But let's talk about the strategy that politicians deploy anytime they go on the campaign trail. Do they get it right?
I think there are a few who get it right, and the majority does not get it right. So we want to speak to the majority, not those few
who don't get it right.
Who've been getting it right.
Yes.
So first of all, it goes back to the message as we talked about, and there are 4 key elements that a politician should consider when defining their communication strategy. So first is, what brand identity do you really want to achieve? How do you want to be perceived by the external public? The second is, what message do you have? And we've talked a lot about that, so I won't belabor it. The third is, so who are your stakeholders that you're talking to? You need to segment them so you know if you're talking to youth, the message is different, the language is different, the dressing is different. If you're going to church, there's a certain way you have to, carry yourself. You have to also quite look
humility.
Like you mean being in church. You're just not there to get the votes. And then the fourth thing is what platforms you're using to disseminate your messages. There are so many platforms. A lot of people believe in print media. But I just want to say here today that it's only 5% of Kenyans who read newspapers. So if your message is concentrated in the print media, you are not reaching your audience. So you need to ask yourself, if you're a voter from, let's say, Kitui, what platform should you use to reach the people in Kitui? Do you need to use vernacular radio stations like Mbaitu FM and others? Do you need to use the newspaper? Is the newspaper really reaching that farmer in Kitui? Do you need to use more of radio or more of TV? So those are the critical things that you have to decide. But what do you have to do to have a successful communication strategy? First of all, you have to have a team of professionals. So every politician, whether you're an MCA, an MP, presidential candidate, you must have a communication team. This team will be providing you not just with advisory support, but also doing your media relations activities. Digital media is very big. So in that team, you need to have a very strong digital media. Trust me, if you're not doing digital media, if you don't have a Facebook account, and you don't have a Twitter account, you don't have an Instagram account, and you're looking for leadership in a country that is full of youth, 75% of this year's voters are youth. Who are you talking to? How are you reaching them? So these are the critical questions that politicians need to ask themselves. And that's why I'm insisting you have to have professionals in your team that can provide you the right advice on how to reach the right audiences.
Doctor, the national appeal is quite key for every politician. You want to appeal to the masses nationally. For example, the deputy president is yearning for being the CEO of this country, the president. Honorable Raila Odinga and most other candidates as well. But anytime they bring that public image, do they portray the national image in them? Because as a president, you are not a person. You are an institution. You stop being a president. You stop being you. You become a symbol of national unity. Do they have that national appeal and outlook with them?
I don't want to say no, they don't have.
Yes.
They have it, but it needs to be cultivated. It needs to be worked up. And this, one thing that I want to say is this, Victor. I think these politicians, maybe whatever leadership position you are looking for, the starting point is to ask themselves, or maybe ask myself, am I worthy to be a leader? See, that is the starting point. And they even go ahead and they meet with some people and they ask them, if I wanted to become a leader, if I wanted to become the president of this country, or if I wanted to become a governor, what qualities, what qualifications, what ethical values do I need to possess?
Yes.
I remember I was in the US, there was an election going on. They were looking for a mayor in that city that I was living in. And the two guys who were seeking for that position, they came to our organization and they wanted to know that, do I have those qualities of becoming a leader or becoming a mayor in this city? And then we had to talk to him, we had to coach him, And do you know that out of two, one said, I don't fit. You know, being honest with yourself is very important. And let me tell you, when a leader is not honest with himself, he's not going to be honest even when he becomes a leader.
Yeah.
That is the starting point. You've got to be honest to yourself before you say that, okay, before you assume to become a leader. And when you are not honest...
Can that happen here?
Let me tell you, Victor, let me tell you, an honest leader has dishonesty. No, dishonest leader has dishonest followers. An honest leader has got honesty followers.
It has got a ripple effect.
Yes.
Yes.
So if you know that I'm not honest, if you know that, okay, integrity-wise, I am not good, what are you going to bring to the table? And remember this, the other thing that leaders must understand, when you get into that position of leadership, you carry the lives of people.
Yes.
Because any decision that you make as a leader, it will affect the people that you are leading. If you are the president, it's going to affect the country, and it's going to speak about the future of your county. It's going to speak the future of your country if you are president. So these are very important, and let people not just run to politics for fame and the glory and the power. They must understand that what I'm bringing in case I'm elected, it will affect the next generation of the country, of the county that I'm going to have. But the problem is, when you try to see, let me tell you, I sat with some politicians and I asked them this question. Why do you want to become a politician, an MCA?
What was the response? Let me ask Daniel that question. Why do you think politicians want to be members of parliament, politicians, they want to be MCAs, governors? Is it for glory and fame, the way you said, right?
Well, I think that could be one of the reasons. There is reality and ideal. The ideal is that we would want to have a crop of leaders who meet the threshold of Chapter 6 of the Constitution.
The Integrity Act part of
Integrity Act. And you know, it's not only Integrity Act. There's a number of clauses there that, you know, takes you through a process that ultimately you come out of it, you are qualified. I mean, by the context of that chapter, that you're a leader who have met that threshold. So here it is. Both practically and theoretically, Victor, when I aspire sometimes to go for a political position, and one of the things we were asked is to bring a lot of clearance certificates to meet Chapter 6 of the Constitution. You asked about your KRA, you asked about your health clearance, and from Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, and you even asked about your bank statement. What this has is that when you are able, because, and I'm coming with the context because you ask us what then is the strategies. That is where I'm coming to. When Sylvia, for example, as a communication and public relations expert, begin to advise me on how to package myself.
Yes.
Ultimately, after the vetting, because you see, the vetting comes from these institutions. What the political parties are asking you is that we can support your candidature after passing through these processes, so that you ultimately do not disappoint us when IBC will find out that you did not meet this threshold. And therefore, we have no other candidate, but we trusted in you. So you saw what happened to Mariga almost in 2019, when it was realized that this guy didn't meet all these qualifications. However much public relations officers tried to save the image of that candidate, it all boils down to the fact that many of the voters really realize that this is not the person that can lead us into this kind of leadership. But as you said, and this is why I want to be very honest, for the purposes of information, that ideally, practically, remember what I said, you diverge from selling the manifesto. It is the electorate that makes you, because the moment you become telling them about what you want to be, you become boring on the platforms.
Yes.
Okay? Kenyans want to hear sometimes, and this is not what I advocate for, but it's happening. Kenyans would easily cheer you when you're controversial. Okay?
Yes.
Kenyans would easily identify with Babu Owino as opposed to other leader who is able to articulate very well the issues that the nations want to hear. So I think moving forward, Victor, and this is what I have said, that from a point of view as an electorate and as a leader, I think we must find their next year to tell Kenyans that choices have got consequences, and that when you are busy cheering leaders who has not met certain threshold, it is not going to work for you in 5 years to come. This is the effects of you not trying to sieve through and get the leaders that you want. So, lastly, I have seen something interesting taking shape in the political scene. All the politicians who are seriously, appearing on public, appearing with their families. I think I have seen this. And it is a very interesting subject of conversation.
Yes.
Yeah.
When Baba was launching Azimio, and when it was his time to speak, it is his wife Ida who said, I have given you.
I release you.
I release you on this. Gladys Wanga yesterday, for a long time, nobody knew who her husband was. And I'm saying this in context of strategy.
Yes.
That the people of Homa Bay yesterday witnessed that there is a gentleman behind the lady who wants to be the governor. Same to Honorable Musalia Mudavadi at Bomas. The family and the daughter actually had to give a speech.
Yes.
So probably with the expert will make us understand this is actually
what effect?
What this effect is actually taking shape on the political scene. But also in few seconds, can we save the public from ignorance of the kind of leaders we elect by encouraging platforms where there will be sobriety and objectivity in terms of getting information? I am talking about when we are going to have presidential, debates like we always have, would we cascade this to our members of county assembly?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
It is important. Would we cascade this where, and we must urge Kenyans that when members of county assembly aspirants appear, please avoid asking them for money first, because that there becomes a harvesting season.
Yes.
Where instead of listening to them, you'll wait for them at the gate first of all to sort you out before you listen to their manifesto.
You've raised a very salient point, because in certain county, it's the locals who vet the next leader.
Yes.
In fact, they say a year to election, like as we speak, they already know who's going to be the member of parliament, and they're okay with it. So anybody who's contesting, just know that your date was sealed, your fate was sealed, and that's it. It is the locals who vet all the aspirants.
Yes.
Let me bring you, Sylvia. What Daniel has talked about, the trend that we are seeing right now. What impact does it have when we see Honorable Raila Odinga parading the entire family?
Yes.
Start mentioning, this is my nephew from the other side, this one is the chain coming to this end. We've seen Gladys Wanga yesterday, of course. What does it have to the image of the public that you're trying to portray out there?
Yes, so
does it have any effect?
So this is a strategy.
Yes.
It's not just by accident. It is actually as a communication strategy. What are they saying when they're parading their families? That I'm family oriented, I love my family, and this is the love I'm going to extend to the public. So it is actually a strategy, being able to show the leader as a family man or a family woman that you actually have a family and they are the ones behind you. So it's a very important message they are sending to the public, that I am a safe pair of hands because you can see my family. I'm a good family man, and that is going to translate. I just want to disagree with something that Daniel said, and this has to do with whether you can have issue-based politics or you always have to be controversial. So I want to say that yes, this is a practice that Kenyans, we love it when someone is mudslinging somebody, you know, but the truth is research, international, globally, research has shown that that negative messaging only works for the moment and doesn't actually appeal to the people in the long term. And I know we always say politics is global, but I want to give an example of when Trump went and talked down Biden's son. You remember the issue of saying that Biden's son was recused from the military because he had used cocaine. Do you remember that story?
Yes.
That story is actually what made Trump lose a lot of votes. Because at the bottom line is we like to hear negative stories, but when we reflect, we see you as that kind of person who is a negative person. So it doesn't necessarily bring in positive. I want to use the example of the Jubilee campaign, the last campaign. It was an issue-based campaign. These guys had like 7 points. And everywhere they watch, I challenge you to watch the president and the deputy president. They were making the same promises, the same message. So the issue of the computers, the issue of the what, at the end of the day, of course, some of those promises didn't come to pass. But it was a very issue-based campaign. They looked at the issues that affect Kenyans, the bread and butter issues. What Kenyans care about is the price of unga going to go down. Am I going to be able to take my children to school? Am I going to be able to go to hospital if I am sick? So they actually coined a campaign that addressed the issues that Kenyans, you know, are keen about. And everywhere they went, they gave the same message. I challenge you to watch those videos. They gave the same message over until it became like a broken radio. But at the end of the day, they won the campaign. So we need to understand that, yes, a bit of controversy is good. And I'm not going to say that in politics you cannot do without controversy, but let that controversy be strategic. Let it not be controversy where you're targeting somebody's mother or somebody's wife or somebody's child. Let it be
politics and issue-based.
Good controversy that can get people talking about your opponent, but is not below the belt. So I want to say that even as Kenyans, we love controversy, but we do not like when you go below the belt. And you've seen the reaction to some of the things that have happened this week. At the end of the day, we do not want people attacking people's mothers. We don't want people attacking us as wives. We don't want people attacking, you know, children. So as Daniel said, there's a code. You know, it's like the mafia, they have a code. Even in politics, there's a code. There's a line you should not cross. And when you cross that line, at that moment, the crowd cheers you. But when they go home and reflect,
people listen to themselves.
Yeah, they listen to themselves and say, this is not a good thing. And at the end of the day, it does not win points for you.
You know, when you talk about leadership, Daktari, we usually compare, you know, oranges and bananas and see which is sweeter and which is sour and what have you. But at the end of the day, all of them are fruits. Now, let's come back to the vetting process. Something that Daniel raised. It goes about us, the voters, vetting our aspirants and seeing this one has good points, 3 or 4 or 5 points that perhaps he or she is planning to achieve once elected. Let me put it this way. Anytime you look at the politicians in their eyes or the leaders in their eyes, do they portray who they are?
That is the question I ask themselves. And I ask myself, do they portray who they are?
Who they are.
And you know, I don't want to go to that, but there is something that you talked about,
yes.
About, and it's something that I've been witnessing. I think, according to me, I see a failure, or maybe something that is not done with the IEBC. I want to believe that immediately after the elections are over, IEBC should be on the road educating wananchi about what entails, what the responsibilities of the
civic education.
Civic education.
Yes.
About what are you expected to receive from the leader that you have elected, and also even to what the education, civic education, is not something that should be done, let's say for about 2 months we have finished it. It's something that needs to be continuous. Because let me tell you, still in our country, we have some people who are not, who are semi-illiterate. You see? Even some of these youth that you see, they also need this kind of civic education, so that they can know what can they demand from their MP, not handouts. What else? What development do they need, and do they expect to get it from their elected members? And even to the president, we have got being a democratic country and with the freedom, I think getting to know what is happening with the presidency is very critical for us.
Yes.
Then coming back to do they know who they are? Personally, I think they would need to be told who they are.
Okay.
They need to be.
Who needs to tell them? They need to know themselves before they come and tell us.
Because the thing is this: we just sit it down, and then we listen to them tell us who they are. And most of these people, we know them by the press, we know them in the families, we know them. But the thing is this, the question is, I don't want to say it's all of them, but I want to say majority of them, or some of them, they really do not know who they are. And why they want to be in a leadership.
That's it. You remember you asked a question, why do they want to be politicians? Why do they want to be elected? And I stopped you at that point deliberately and passed it over to Daniel. So what response do they give you when you ask them, why do they want to be politicians? Why do they want to go to, to Senate and be elected?
Okay, I've received some, being a part of coaching and talking with the people and doing a lot of research on leadership. I get a lot of answers. But perhaps one of them, let me tell you one of them, hii kijiji jetu hakijakuwa na kiongozi. You see, that's all.
Yes.
And I want to tell you, I spoke with the Sam some years ago, 2013, and he told me that I want to become a politician so that I can do this and this in my area. 5 years he never did it. And when it was back coming to the to election again, I asked him, I asked you wanted to do, what happened? And you are still asking for it. mambo ya siasa ni nyingi sana. Nitafanya. So actually me, because let me tell you, Victor, if I was going to say that I'm going to do this, I know what I'm going to do.
Yes.
I don't want to waste my energy. I don't want to waste my time doing something that I know it will give me glory and the fame for just a short while.
Sylvia wanted to say something.
Yeah, I think, Dr. you're being economical with the truth.
He's being mean. He doesn't want to open the lead.
He's taking care of his clients.
Perhaps his client is watching.
He knows the underlying reason, and the underlying reason is that people believe now there's a lot of money in politics.
Yes.
If you notice, a lot of people want to be governor. In fact, not many people want to be senator anymore. And the reason is because they have this belief that if you become governor, you're going to be rich, you're going to have access to money. So that is the sad thing about it, that instead of somebody telling you that they really have a change agenda, they really have the needs of the people at heart, they really want to make a difference, they will voice those things. But bottom line, a lot of our leaders believe that if you want to make money, the right place to go is into politics. And this is really, really sad. And actually, that is the reason why somebody goes in, like he promises you he's going to make a difference, and as soon as he gets in there, you never hear from him again. So this is the wrong sort of motivation. And that is what is making our politics so painful when you think about it. At the end of the day, you have all these leaders, and poverty in this country has gone up. People are going to bed without a single meal in a day. We have hundreds of children who cannot even afford the free education, and a lot of trouble across the nation. So this kind of thing where people don't know why they want to lead, they actually don't understand why they want to lead. Bottom line, they're motivated by the money.
Yes.
And that is where we're getting it from.
Thank you. Daniel, allow me to shift gears briefly and talk about the issue of corruption and vetting, because you remember EACC said that they need to vet some of these candidates, but ideally it's not possible, because how many aspirants do we have? Most of the aspirants we have currently have gone through either court process, are still having pending cases in court, or they're still dragging the cases, but you know what? They're still going to find themselves in the ballot. So how do we as Kenyans vet these politicians and make sure that we sieve them and get the best come 9th of August?
Actually, and I think I mentioned that because I've really realized that at the point of Kenyans deciding on who they elect, that is that is always where Kenyans should be very, very careful and participate. And even before you come to a point where you really want to vet, and I agree with what my colleagues talks about, like a country where political leadership is elevated more than other points of leadership. Victor, if you go in Scandinavian countries, some of these citizens do not even know who their president are. Even they don't care. Because at that point, the systems are working for them. The leadership they elect at the locals is working for them.
So they don't need to run around looking for the politician.
I mean, for them is all about paying taxes and services. And in fact, you look at the Scandinavian countries, they pay a lot of taxes, but the services are there. Free education to tertiary institutions. They even have something called, the job centers for young people who have left colleges and they're still looking for jobs. That they always report to job centers and they're taken care of. Housing. So I think, for me, I always have an idea that the country have a hit and misses when we elevate that the only leaders that are much credible and are reliable are people that we elect through the ballot system. We are forgetting we have business leaders within the private sector who are working so hard
to keep the economy.
To bridge the gap that the politicians have not done so well to bring policies that would create unemployment and employment as well. It's done by the private sector. Religious leaders are filling the gap by being the moral compass of the society. You know, by telling the youth and other segment of society that while there is a conflict in the political leadership, the religious leaders can act as leaders to bridge that.
Yeah.
Kenyans, their perception is always like, you know, if you mention any leader, who then would you emulate? They will always tell you either a member of parliament and a governor like Sylvia has talked about, or even the president. Not bad to have them as your role model.
Yeah.
But the value that we overtouch with the political leaders is costing us as a country. And I think that is why I said it is important. I agree with what Dr. has talked about, and it is constitutional that the role of IBC, if you look through the Article 90 to 96, the role of IBC do not stop at the elections. The role of IBC do not stop at enhanced voter registration.
It's a string of activities.
It's a string of activities, continuous civic education. And Kenyans, the word civic education must be distinguished between civic education and voter education. Because then civic education is a holistic education, including the leadership that we are talking about here, including the value system, the principles of governance and value that is in the Article 10. So this is what I am telling you, that when now it comes to sieving the leaders, it must begin by Kenyans having the capacity. It is you.
It is me.
The capacity to sieve. Because then if we do not have, however much we have presidential debates, however much we have the governors debate, however much we have the members of parliament, even to the MCAs, Kenyans would sit, they would listen, and at the end of the day, it is handouts at the gate. Because then the capacity to ask hard questions at that time is still low, because civic education wasn't.
Before I'm asked hard questions by my director, let me take a break, okay? Hard questions are coming on my ears. Okay, let's take a break. We'll be right back to get our parting shots from our panelists here. We'll be right back.
You're gonna marry Pinky? What about me?
I'll be here for you. I'll love you forever. I'll be by your side every day.
Wait and see. I'm gonna turn your life upside down.
曾经燃烧成灰烬。
Log on to the KBC website at www.kbc.co.ke to get the latest breaking news, entertainment, sports, politics, lifestyle or business trends from Kenya and around the world. Never miss new episodes from your favorite TV shows, reruns and movies. Just stream online or watch live on your YouTube channel at KBC Channel 1 TV shows. For the day's biggest stories, trustworthy news and family entertainment, log on to KBC Channel 1. Watch what you want anytime, anywhere.
Welcome back, and we're just coming to the tail end of this program. If you've just joined us, believe me, you've missed. But don't worry, we'll have the entire link in our YouTube channels. You can have a rewind and watch what we've been discussing. If you're a politician, this has been a class 1-1 for you. Okay, so coming back, allow me to give you, as we're coming to the tail end, this is a time that we are going to expect to see a lot of money, okay? Most banks are going to be busy. All right, most banks are going to be busy. What should you expect? It's all about nipe, nikupe. That's where we are. If you ask a politician, say, no, that's not what we are talking about. Starting with you, Sylvia.
Yes, of course, we are Kenyans, we know what happens during political times, and it's very unfortunate because it goes back to the issue we have been discussing, that we are not value-focused, we are not issue-focused in our politics. But perhaps this is a chance to change it. We expect, of course, that during this season, a lot of money will be exchanging hands. I was recently at an event where the youth even they barricaded a car of a politician and did not allow the politician to come out before they gave money. I was shocked because that really demonstrated to me where the next election is going. But I think one thing that is very important is, even as politicians grapple with this, it is important that they make the right investments, make the right and the right choices to invest. And investing in your brand, investing in your reputation, investing in your media relations is going to pay off big. Particularly when you look at the fact that a lot of people are listening to the Mashinani radio stations, you must ensure that you are investing in your Mashinani radio stations, and at the same time ensuring that you're sending the message of what it is that you stand for. Because even as you give out the money, I am totally opposed to it, but it is the reality on the ground. Even as you decide as a politician whether you're going to give the money or not, you must ensure that you are investing in your communications, investing in your brand. And I want to say that investment in communication is very expensive. People have been talking about how IEBC is not doing, the right thing. IEBC is not giving enough civic education. But IEBC has had no budget to be able to do the kind of civic education they used to do in the past. Their budgets have been heavily stripped. They are not facilitated. How are we expecting them to be able to do the civic education? So there's a question there about investment. And even for the individual politicians, communication is not cheap. So you have to create a budget that is going to ensure that even as you do your political activities, that you are building your brand and communicating your message in an effective manner.
All right, Daktari, coming to you.
I think corruption is a big problem in this country. And for me, I feel it's a culture for us to be a corrupt nation, or maybe can the things move without corrupting? And I think that thing need to be changed, and I think that is where the need of civic education comes in. People to be told that, and the electorate to be enlightened that once they sell or maybe they accept that bribe, they are selling their rights. You see, and it's something that we need to overcome. So what do these politicians need to do? Personally, I feel that they need to know that they are leaders, and they need to ask themselves, what kind of a leader am I coming to become? And what kind of a legacy am I going to leave after the 5 years, or maybe 10 years, or how many years maybe you'll be elected? That is the key question that one need to ask himself. What kind of a legacy? Am I going to leave a legacy of corruption? Am I going to leave a legacy of a free society where I fought corruption, where I did not give money to become a governor, to become an MP, to become an MCA, where I went and sought my ideas, my manifesto, what I want to do to these people. And in order for them to become, to achieve this, personally, I feel that they need coaching.
They need coaching.
And this is something that I want to reiterate again. I'm willing to help our politicians come from being a good leader to a better leader.
Good leader to a better leader, right?
So that they can at least leave a legacy that actually when they leave out, I passed by
And I heard the youth is saying that huyo ni mukora, huyo hatuwezi tukamchagua this time. You see that kind of a legacy they are leaving behind. And when you ask these people, why are you not going to elect him? They will count so many things that they did not do, they promised to do. So I think the bottom line for this politician is to ask themselves, what kind of a legacy am I going to leave? And in order to achieve this, I personally feel there is a need for coaching to communicate their messages well, and to be able to sell their manifesto.
Thank you, Dr. Daniel, your parting shot, Kelly?
My parting shot is that we, even as we talk about corruption, we have realized that there is no any definition of corruption, even in your own ethnic language. How do you call corruption?
Asoya.
You see, you're saying by the act of giving money, that is not corruption. In all these languages, 42 or 45 languages we have in this country, there is, if you ask them, could you just mention corruption in your language, they would say something that is in the act. Not really that word. So I was challenged by, even as in the context, when you are taken to the corridors of justice to answer questions of corruption, they will not mention corruption. They will charge you with economic crime. Okay? Not corruption. So one of the things that the lacuna, the gap that we have as a country is, can we agree generally as a citizens of Kenya, then what is this corruption? Then, okay? Because I believe is the ultimate. Even as you define it, you'll say it's an economic and social crime. Somebody will say, even the tenets of it is that there was nepotism before corruption. There was bribery and then corruption. So we must agree as Kenyans, even as we go to election, what is this word? How do we do it? And what is exactly how to deal with it? And that would mention. Thirdly, before I conclude, we are struggling with the Election Campaign Finance Act. Okay? Where
to put a cap.
IBC has struggled so much to put a cap. But at Kenya's election is one of the most expensive elections.
Yes, it is.
Okay? So when you budget per head of somebody who, just an individual, budget per head is more in this region. So you would expect, like Sylvia has said, there is money that is going to exchange hands that cannot really be accounted for. Because then we do not have a regulation that tells you that there is a ceiling you really have to spend. If I want to become a member of county assembly and I'm being told the least you can use is 3 million, I don't have 3 million. Where do I get 3 million? Is now to involve myself in corruption. Is to align with the governor who is corrupt. Is because I'll find a way of getting to be elected with the money that I don't have. And finally, what is the effect of that? That immediately you elect me and you are asking me for handouts. I will switch off my phone after the elections. Give me 1.5 years to recover. And that one is a detrimental to service delivery. That is a detrimental to leadership and accountability. And that is a detrimental to anything, governance in this that we have. So I think these are the things that we need to talk about boldly as we elect our leaders. And that's why I say, do Kenyans have the capacity? Lastly, I think I wish for the lovers is Happy Valentine's Day. And for our media in the fraternities, Happy Radio's Day. And I think as a country, we get towards election as well.
All right. Okay. The reason why I finished with that aspect of corruption is that right now money is going to exchange hands, and it's going to be all over. So people have come up with different ways of how you can stop corruption, the bribery. Daniel has distinguished corruption and bribery. So this is where it's going to be. So people have devised several methods on how to stop corruption. Some people have come up with videos, YouTube channels, where you video people taking corruption, you upload them there. It's called the Wall of Shame. And it's doing marvelous. And some of the politicians right now are quite wary of people with mobile phones in rallies, ukionekana na simu and what have you. So you take a photo, take a video, post it there, and this is how we are going to clean this country even as we move towards an election. Whatever Daniel has said, it's Valentine's Day. We only have one lady. I think it's, for us men, we just wish her happy Valentine's.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sylvia.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. That's where we leave it at this particular point. But up next is one amazing Professor Romanus Odhiambo coming up talking about issue to do with state of higher education in Kenya with the Jane Wamboi after this break.
All right, so let's keep on. It's live TV. Sometimes some of these things happen. But anyway, this is what we are focusing on. This is Mbagathi Way. So this is how it was looking like. Mbagathi Way, Raila Odinga Way. It was renamed last year to Raila Odinga Way or Road from Mbagathi Way. This is how it used to look like. And it was deconstructed to construct it, or better still, install it to how it is looking like. And part of why this footbridge was deconstructed is, as I mentioned earlier, simply because of its poor state on how it was looking like. In fact, when NTSA brought that report, it showed that this particular road was part of the 74 roads here in the country that had been earmarked as black spots, whereby clearly a lot of death cases were being recorded, and this was just one of them. And the reason was because instead of pedestrians or road users having to use the footbridge which was set aside for them, they ended up using the main road, and that is simply because of the kind of poor state in which it was. Garbage, especially around the areas where it was pedestrians using to cross over from one side of the road to the other side. So that is why it was deconstructed to construct it to how it is looking like. And in fact, it is one of those footbridges in the country where there's that the spirals, especially on the sides of the footbridge. And the reason as to why it was important to ensure that as they are installing it or constructing it all together, they put up the spirals just to try and also cater and take care for persons with disabilities because of the ramps that were put up on this spiraled area. So again, this, aside from reduction of traffic flow, was also tried to ensure the reduce on the number of death cases. So simply, this is what I was talking about earlier. So instead of pedestrians having to use their footbridges from crossing over from one side of the road to the other side, a good number of them ended up using the main road, which clearly is part of what resulted to the high number of death cases and at times also heavy kind of traffic, because it simply meant that traffic police had to constantly stop vehicles just for the purpose of pedestrians to cross over from one side of the road to the other side. So after it was opened up to the public in around August, September, thereabout, sometime last year. So what we're doing this morning is check the traffic flow on this particular section, try to see if at all the installation served its purpose, especially when it comes to reducing traffic flow. And perhaps you can begin from the Timor roundabout, which is actually the stretch of the Mbagathi Way or Raila Odinga Road, which is in between Timor roundabout and the City Mortuary roundabout. Again, remember, also put in mind that still a lot is happening around this particular area. That is the Timor roundabout since late 2020, after a section of Langata Road was closed because of construction of that overpass and underpass, which is still on its initial stages, or if you may, the first phase of its construction process. So ultimately, that is also leading to heavy kind of traffic on this particular stretch. But this is how it is looking like just as you leave the roundabout, coming through Mbagathi Way. Not so bad in terms of traffic, moving at a very swift pace, just on some sections here and there where it's just beginning to slightly build up, but altogether still a manageable kind of traffic. And that continues all through and through up until areas areas of high-rise where traffic begins to really build up heavy kind of traffic on that entire section. In fact, just as you near the high-rise junction, not moving at all, at a standstill, and before you get there, moving at a very slow pace. So ultimately, if you're living areas of Langata, perhaps coming to the city center and do not want to do the heavy traffic on sections along or better still, as you head over to Nyayo Stadium roundabout and also all together through Uhuru Highway, you can perhaps use this as the alternative route, but you'll just have to make do with that heavy traffic, especially as you near the high-rise junction and even past that area. In fact, that continues all the way up until the city mortuary roundabout there. But if you're leaving areas of Kenyatta, that is Kenyatta Hospital, Valley Road, perhaps Ngong Road, coming to areas around Langata, you can use the other section of Mbagathi Way, or better still, the other lane of Mbagathi Way as you head over to areas around Langata, because throughout that entire lane, no traffic at all, moving at a very swift pace. And that is how it is looking like. So basically, we've just been trying to track the progress of what Kura, Kenha, or even NMS is doing as it pertains to either construction, reconstruction, or recarpeting of most of these roads, as well as installation of footbridges. And at exactly 6 minutes to the top of the hour, that is how it is looking like.
Thank you for staying with us this far. We want to continue with the discussion that we have lined up for you. You can always interact with us using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. Our official station handle is at KBC Channel 1. My handle is at Jane Wamboi. Karibu tena sana in case you are just joining us. Now we want to move on to the next discussion, and this is all about the state of education and specifically higher education here in our country. The past 2 years have really shown us that anything can change at just the snap of a finger. But how has that affected our higher institutions of higher learning and higher education as a whole? Well, to help us with this conversation, this morning we have with us Professor Romanus Odhiambo, who is the Vice Chancellor at Meru University of Science and Technology. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning, Wembui.
Happy Valentine's.
Happy Valentine to you and all the ladies and gentlemen in Kenya
that are watching us this beautiful morning.
Including my wife, Dr. Pamela Odhiambo, who will be celebrating her 30th anniversary tomorrow with me.
Oh, happy anniversary.
Yes.
From the entire Good Morning Kenya fraternity. I do believe we represent each other here.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being with us today. Now, before we get even further into this conversation, tell us a bit about, the Meru University of Science and Technology, for those who might not really know what it's really about. Just briefly, a history into the institution.
Thank you very much, Wambui, and it's great to be here. Good morning, Kenya. Meru University of Science and Technology is a public university. It became a constituent college of JKUAT back in 2009. And then on 1st of March 2013, became a full-fledged university. So basically, we are about 9 years old. We'll be 9 years old in March 1st this year. We are a science and technology university. Almost over 75% of the programs we offer are science, technology, and innovation programs. We are based just over Kenya. We are Mount Kenya. We are actually at the center of Kenya. That is moving from Tanzania to Meru, then from Meru to Ethiopia, just 50%.
Yes.
A very serene environment, lot of forests, lot of wild animals. By the way, all elephants, most of the elephants in Mount Kenya, when they give birth, they come to the maternity in Meru University. And so that's where we are, a very good place. And we have about 10,000 students, having been risen from around 4,000 in 2018 when I went there. So we have seen a lot of growth in the last 3 years, and we are very happy about this.
I can imagine. Yeah. Now, looking at also just the most recent, or rather this situation that we are in with this pandemic, we know education is one of the sectors that were heavily affected by the pandemic. And for most people, we always had news stories about primary schools and secondary schools closing, but institutions of higher learning, the conversation wasn't really as vocal around how they were affected. Paint a picture for us how that has been like.
Thank you very much. Wambui, I always remember His Excellency President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta in March around 15th of 2020 when he went to the press and shut all the learning institutions, everybody, including the university. And for one, as universities, we didn't know what to do. And so we closed the universities for some time, and in the interim, we were wondering, what do we really do? Of course, people hoped that COVID would come and go, and then we'll just resume our normal.
Back to normal. Yeah.
That never was. And quickly, we started retooling, we started re-engineering ourselves. I remember having to call my staff and tell, especially the union leaders and the staff and the academics, that we really have to re-engineer ourselves so that we remain relevant to the reality on the ground. And so we had to move on from physical learning, the online, Wambui, I mean the physical, the in-person learning, to the online learning. And that means you are to retool the lecturers. You are to, most of them have always been used to in-person, where you stand in front of the students and the students sit the other side and you write and you talk and discuss. But this was not to be. So we had to retool them, give them new skills of online teaching when it comes to online pedagogy, give them the technology that they need to use, encourage every lecturer really to get the ICT devices that are needed so that this could be done. But also the students themselves, again, they had always gotten used to sitting and being taught.
Yes.
But now this was not to be. There were no lecturers. And again, we had to really talk with our open and distance and e-learning, Wambui, the directorate, to really retool the students and give them the skills that would allow them to really be online students. And that also touched so many things, even in the evaluation in terms of cards, assignments, examinations, and what have you. Everything has to change. Things were moving so fast.
Yes.
In fact, I remember at the beginning, the first 3 months, lecturers say no. Students also say no. But then when it started becoming like it is here with us, the leaders, the union leaders, the student union leaders and the staff union leaders came to me, Prof, I think we can do something. And so that's when now we came in. And today, as we talk, I think if there is anything, I know people may not understand this, but I think COVID has made us to discover there are other hundreds and thousands ways of doing these things.
Yes.
And so today we are not only teaching in person, but we are also blending, that I can teach even in my home in Migori, and I have students in Meru, I can interact with them. That I can have my management meeting every week. In fact, since COVID time, I think I've only had one physical meeting. I always run my university management meeting online. I've never had, since that March 2020, I've never had a physical in-person Senate meeting. I always run my meeting online. This is the best thing that ever happened. And so I think what we have learned is that more people are now accepting this, both the students and the staff in Meru University, and also I think in the whole university sector.
Yes.
Quite a number of people are actually accepting this. We are getting into a level where it is becoming the real norm now. And eventually, I think even examination, which has become a bit of a challenge in running online, will eventually get there.
And looking at the fact that you're also a public university,
right,
and you're just speaking for Meru University in
yes,
this particular case,
yes,
we have so many other public universities that accommodate huge numbers of students that come from across the country. Looking at this situation, the way you had to adjust to the actual situation without any prior planning, how can the government come in to just ensure that in the future, we're not hoping for another pandemic, but in terms of equipping public universities?
Thank you, Wambui. This is the good question you have brought. What is the way forward? Nobody knew COVID-19 was coming. Yes. And all of a sudden it came and we panicked. We thought, I thought we were going all to be wiped out. The way we were seeing people in Wuhan, in China,
just
dying, and people from Europe, some of them jumping and dying. We thought we were all going to die, all of us. I think we need to facilitate universities in terms of resources, in terms of forward planning, in terms of what is really needed so that we can actually see how to move on. As I've said, we must be prepared for all kind of situations. And what COVID has taught us in Meru University and all public universities is that a lot of investment need to be put in the technology that make us versatile, that make us ever ready to adapt to any emerging situation. That means investment in terms of the infrastructure, investment in terms of the technology. But we have also learned, especially for my students in Meru University of Science and Technology. You know, most of the time we have this hard kind of a situation where students come from Migori, they come from Lamu, they come from Muranga, they come from Meru itself, and they all park within the institution. COVID has told us that this is not going to be possible. We have also to allow to really talk with the community around to build state-of-the-art accommodation so that some of these things where the students are packed together and these viruses do come and affect them will not come. And so the communities wherever who are lucky where we have institutions of higher learning, that they need also to invest and be part and parcel of what the government is planning in terms of investment within the universities and colleges, that they also do a lot. For example, quite a number of almost over 80% of my students now do not stay in the university. They stay
compared
out.
To before.
Yeah. So this is really true, but I think the question you have asked, Wambui, it is very important that the council that own the university, the government, especially in public institutions, we need to put a lot of resources that can help us to prepare for this emergency that come when we least expect them.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, let's quickly transition to the other aspect, and this is all about the curriculum, because you have been part and parcel of the conversation around CBC 844, and you're bound to, witness both sides of the divide. But we have seen so many parents and a few people in the value chain complaining about the CBC curriculum, others saying we need to revert back to the 844 system of education, and others proposing that let's keep going as what the CS himself has been on about. From your own expertise as, being part of the teaching fraternity as a professor, what are your thoughts on these two particular curriculums?
Thank you, Wambui. Excellent question. I'll answer that comment and question in maybe three ways. First, as a university professor, and secondly, perhaps as a parent.
Yes.
Because, and thirdly, maybe as a Kenyan. Learning as a university professor can say like this: learning is a change in behavior that results in a repeated exercise, a repeated change in life. That when I go to class to teach people, I want to see a change. And that change should be reflected in the way people do things. They come to my class, they don't know most of the things, and then I start impacting them, and then they go outside there. And whenever I teach them, normally in Kenya, we have always been, as professors, we do what is called evaluation, Wambui. That is examinations. In terms of assignment, cards, written exams, and all the rest. And what we have always tested is the knowledge. And yet learning is not just about knowledge. As a university professor and a HR expert in this country, learning is about abilities, learning is about skills, learning is about knowledge. Tuko pamoja? And so most of the time, including the 844, which we dreamt would actually address the whole salad of this package of knowledge, the ask, the abilities, skills, and knowledge. At the end of it, the terminal examination has always been testing the knowledge. Now, CBC is saying that when I teach Wambui in class, statistics and sample surveys and opinion poll surveys, which I like so much, I should give her abilities to do even that opinion polls in a way that when she says so and so is the most qualified candidate, that result is accepted. The abilities, the skills, and the knowledge. Now, CBC, as a university professor, is actually trying to address that. That it is not only going to examine the knowledge, but it's also going to examine the skills. It's also going to examine the abilities. And that takes me back to now answering that question as a parent. I have children in standard 1 to 5. I also have children in Form 1 to Form 4. I also have children in the university. I also have a PhD student. I'm blessed, Wambui.
Oh, yes,
really
you
blessed.
Are.
And all of them, apart from the ones who are from now secondary, all the other two are actually in the CBC. Joy, my daughter, who is a grade 5, a pioneer CBC candidate, even last night, she had to go and even make my room, polish my shoes. This morning, she woke up very early, actually to make for me a pancake to eat. She does so well. What I've seen as a parent of all level, CBC is something very good. Again, in the 844 and the system that I went through, 7423, Wambui, you look young and beautiful. By the way, happy Valentine.
Thank you.
Maybe you don't know that before 844, we had 7423. Okay? Now, in that system, you are all the time, people were just asking you questions about the knowledge alone. They were never asking about disabilities, skills, and all the rest. But in this system, that is what is being addressed.
Yes.
That even when you go to the exams, already they have assessed these attitudes, abilities, they have assessed these skills, and then the knowledge is just given some 40% or 50%. And I think that's a reality check for the new system, that it is not just the exam I do the 2 hours that count, but it is exams that count all through. But again, parenting, is because people who go to school are still very young. Parenting is not just about making sure that you pay the fees and leave the children there. In the CBC also, I've had some parents have complained that they are involved so much. I think when you plan, as my good minister Magoa has said, it is you, like me and Pamela, my wife, Dr. Pamela Odhiambo, wherever you are. It is us who said we will have the 11 children. And so it is our responsibility to parent them, even in school, even at home, even in church, that kind of thing. Now, the CBC allow a salad of all the people to involve in the growth and development of the abilities, of the skills, and the knowledge of the child.
All right.
This is something very good. As a Kenyan now, I think Kenyans, CBC addresses so many things. The systems we have had as teachers, as parents, as curriculum developer in this country is that you go to school so that you can end up getting a white-collar job. Now, the CBC is saying, if you can get it like Wambui has been employed by KBC in a very nice place here, we thank God for that. But again, what about an Odhiambo there who has gone to school and there's no job? CBC says if you don't have a job, there are other things that you can also be done. And so it imparts on you the skills that you can use even in the village. It imparts on you the knowledge, the abilities and the attitude that can make you fit even if you don't have a job. And so it is an entrepreneurial curriculum, it is a technology curriculum, it's a knowledge-based curriculum, it's a skill-based curriculum, and it makes you more flexible to adapt. As a senior professor in this country and a senior citizen in this country, this is the best thing that we can have. But Wambui, yes, I may be wrong if I just talk of the goodness of the CBC. Anything that you start Kenyans, there is always a challenge. So there could be some challenge, but I think I do request all of us as parents, all of us as higher education professionals, all of us to really try to wade through and sort out this as we go on so that eventually we perfect the CBC. Thank you, Wambui.
Now, just speaking about these challenges, you have seen so many of the people that are complaining about CBCs because they don't understand it. They don't see, how practical it is. When the practical bit is brought to them as a parent, they're like, we didn't sign up for this. I'm paying the school to teach my child this and this. Now, as an educator, how would you, advise parents, institutions, and even the ministry to go about when it comes to changing the narrative around this particular curriculum, because we're living in a time where it is even being weaponized for political mileage in different spaces?
Thank you. Our school governance system is very clear, especially in the primary, secondary, and even in the university we have governance structure. We have the PTAs, and I think all that we need to do, starting from the highest primary school, is that let's sensitize the parents in the PTA meetings. Let's sensitize the parents also in the PTA meeting through the BOM whenever they come. Our leaders, earlier on this today before I came here, there was a discussion about leadership. I think our leaders should also not just talk when you don't really know what you are talking about. I don't think it is right to go in the press and say, when we take this, we go do this and that. I don't think it is right. What we need to do is sensitize people about the goodness, but also the challenges that there are and how we can collectively talk about this. And so, Wambui, my encouragement is that let all schools, let the Ministry of Education, let all stakeholders gang up together in a positive way. Even the politicians that seem to be influencing our people so much, whatever they talk about need to be a message of hope to all of our people about that system. So idea is sensitization to everybody in the churches, everywhere. And I think this will take change because it's the best thing, I think, as I know, the CBC that we are coming up with is actually the best thing that is good for this country.
And I absolutely agree with you. As a parent who has a child in the CBC part of the divide,
to make two of us.
It is a beautiful experience for the children. Remember, this is a conversation about the state of education in our country and particularly higher education, because CBC will get there in just a number of years. We want to take a very quick breather. We will be back to continue with this discussion. Any questions, comments, or clarifications that you may be seeking, feel free to send them through using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. Be right back.
Good morning.
Mimi hakuna mtu mwingine yote atakayempata.
Binadamu gani wewe? Kwa nini uko hivi lakini?
Nimekuwa wewe. Saona, hiyo ndio shida yake.
Mipango yako isokuisha hii, ujue mwisho atakutumbikia nyongo.
Akikuona wewe unajifanya ni mzuri, kumbe hana adabu yoyote. Huyu ni kama samaki mbovu.
Mundos divididos por una sombra de traición.
I won't. I am not accepting it, and I will most certainly not stay quiet about it.
Please, Grandma.
Lying.
Alonso, can we talk?
I'm not interested in talking.
I'm going to do everything in my power so that I can break up this forced engagement. I won't allow my grandson to suffer like his mother did. And I promise you they won't.
Promise that not only will I give you back your dream, but that I will also be a really big part of it.
Lying heart. Fue sembrando el veneno y la ambición.
Welcome back. We are glad you are still keeping us company here on Good Morning Kenya. I am Jane Wambui, and with us in studio this morning we have Professor Romanus Odhiambo, who is the Vice Chancellor of Meru University of Science and Technology. Now, Professor, we get back to this conversation, still looking at the curriculum, and now narrowing it down to the institutions of higher learning, colleges, universities, and the likes. We have always seen conversations, especially when students are graduating, then they join the job market. We hear employers complaining that, oh, these guys are half-baked, or these guys, what they're being taught in school is a complete mismatch with the industry needs that we are currently experiencing. What are your thoughts when it comes to this conversation? Because it's something that has been happening for so many years, but yet there seems to be a gap that is yet to be addressed.
Thank you, Wambui, and thank you for that good questions. Universities, I'll talk with you on universities and more so Meru University of Science and Technology. Perhaps I'll give some few examples in JKU, where I was for 27 years. Universities are centers of excellence for creating knowledge creations, that means research, and for just sustaining that knowledge, just people still just learning that knowledge. And of course, packaging that and coming up with new innovations and all the rest. So, number one, the issue of half-baked, I've had it for some time. And for me as a university professor, sometimes I feel bad about it.
Yes.
Because I teach students from undergraduate to PhD. And for me as a university professor, I have a syllabi, I have a detailed course outline, and then the reference text and the laboratory, the field works and whatever. We do all that. So as far as a university professor work is concerned in the university, I can say we do almost 85 to 90 to 100%. So saying a half-baked sometimes offends us as university professors. And as Kenyans, please, ladies and gentlemen, I plead that you also respect your professionals, like academics like us. We know what is needed, and that's why you took me to school for all these 45 years. And so when you give me Wambui as my student, I mean well for her. But where they may also be right is that you look at the whole pipe.
Yes.
Wambui comes in as a journalist and communication student. And then I take her through what I've just described. And at the end of the pipe, we pour her outside there. Then some of them, just like we had said earlier, the concept was that immediately the car passes up the top of the pipe, she needs a job. Yeah, now that job is not there. Now that's not a problem of the university. That could be a problem of all of us as a country, be it the public sector, be it the private sector. It's like we are producing more than we can absorb. And this is what the CBC earlier on was addressing. Secondly, for the university like Mary University of Science and Technology, where I'm the CEO, the Vice Chancellor, we have tried to avoid that. I insist that my professors teach the students the whole package, what is expected. But not only that, we are a science and technology institutions.
Yes.
We also have to link with the private sector, with the industries, that my students, when they are within the university, they have to go and learn the skills that the industry need. So that it is not just the theory that I give them in the university, but what they learn also has a link. They also see what the industry does. And so we insist that if you look at the whole academic sector, when you go first year to final year, there's a time that you have to go to the industry, spend some weeks with the industry so that you learn what is it that Professor Dembo was teaching in the class, whether it is really relevant, and what is it that the industry really want to link with us. And so Mary University of Science and Technology, through my leadership and through the council leadership, we have insisted on creating a linkage with the industries and with the private sector where we can also be linking our students. So you'll find my students in agriculture, they have to go to very reputable agricultural farms so that they learn the real skill. My engineering students, the same. My computer science students, the same. All the students, they have to do this. So that's what we do. The issue of half-baked also comes sometime. I'll talk this, although you didn't ask it. Is the financing sometime that comes to the university. The model of financing universities right now is called differentiated unit cost. That means what kind of program does Wambui do and how many students are taking that. Now with that, if I'm taking education like I'm a trained education teacher. I did double mathematics and education in Kenyatta University. And then you are a journalism and communication. And maybe Sarah there is a medical person. And then maybe she's an engineer. You know, the fees, the amount of money we use is all different.
Yes.
Now the differentiated unit costs address that. For a long time, we have been giving the university fees money from the government, just like if it is all the same.
A blanket cover.
A blanket cover. And that sometimes, sadly, may result in a way that sometimes the kind of equipment, the kind of infrastructure required for you as a journalist who want to learn about digital marketing and communication, you cannot buy them. The medical doctor who wants now to do telemedicine and what have you, there's not enough money to do this. This is what we need also to address. And so sometimes you may find some universities which are still unlucky, they do not have this, and so the student just pass, even though the professor want to teach very well so that you get the whole package. But the infrastructure may not be enough. And I think going forward, as a country, we need to address this. We need to put a lot of money in the universities so that we address some of these things, because it is the university graduates that are set at the policy level all the time. The countries that have developed, mabibi na mabwana, ladies and gentlemen, they have put a lot of emphasis on the financing of university education, on the financing of infrastructural development, on the financing of research, and on the financing of the personnel costs, so that the people who are working there are comfortable. They can work well and produce 100% graduate, not the half-baked that sometimes we talk about, Wambui.
Now, that brings me back to the courses that are now being offered in these universities. Could there also be a problem in some of the courses, given some could be repetitive and redundant, and yet when you look at the larger scope of the courses that are offered, you can clearly see that there's an inclination to certain areas and certain career paths. What does this now tell you as an educator on the university side of the divide in terms of the courses and the relevance to which they are in relation to the industry?
Thank you very much. You know, I'm a teacher, Wambui. Curriculum is dynamic.
Yeah.
That means it is never stagnant. That the calculus I did 40 years ago is still the calculus today. Yes, it is. But in terms of application, the emerging industrial needs, the emerging things that are changing, causes us also to
adjust
change.
to that, yeah.
And so to address your question, I've had this pedestrian argument that some courses like history should be scrapped out, theory. By the way, I'm a pastor. I read the Bible a lot. That theory, we don't need it, what have you. No. Why do we have so many mental stress in this country? Why are people only thinking from today, our stomach, and we don't learn from the past, how people have evolved and reached this with all this? I think what is needed is really to make sure that our curricula evolve with the time. If it is history, there are new things that have happened which are still very relevant outside there. So don't just teach the history of 2020, I don't know, the 1900, but also try to bring what is it that is happening today. What are the historical challenges that we had, and how do they compare today? What do we learn from that, and how do we move forward? And so, but you are also very right. In the new world order, there are things like data analytics. There are things like artificial intelligence. There are things like, cyber security and forensic science. These were never there. These things are becoming hotcake today. And so like in my Mary University of Science, we are the only university in this country, and think East and Central Africa, that has introduced a course in data science, data analytics, Bachelor of Science, just trying to see what is it that the world right now needs. These are the real thing right now. Data analytics, the big data, how to analyze and how to produce it to project the future. Cyber crime is a reality. Hata wewe kwa simu yako. Si unajua hiyo? Now, the people that can address that, they are not there. And so Mary University, I think with just one university in East and Central Africa, we also introduced a course in computer science and computer security and forensic, just to address that, people going to the bank and cheating and all the rest. And many, many other things. Going forward, ladies and gentlemen, courses, the programs that we do are dynamics, and in Mary University, every end of the cycle, I put my professors together to redesign, to relook at the industry needs, the changes, and then how to capture them in the new courses we do. We should not just scrap. For example, in my education classes, I did course like psychology. Yeah, and we were doing things like child development. That time, I had no more Pamela in my life. I didn't know that I would be a parent. So we're doing child development. We're doing things like sociology. When I meet a person like Wambui for the first time, how do I behave and all the rest? We're doing philosophy, that you don't just accept things without asking why, what, how. And today in Kenya, the new generation, they say they think smart. Now, all this, for you to really be a real, total, responsible global citizen, you require a salad of all kinds of these things. And so that's why I'm saying we need to really take these things very seriously in our curriculum. The mental stress, the stress we have, people are committing suicide, the abuse of drugs and alcohols and what have you, is coming because we have left some of these things. And so today's psychology is very important. Sociology is very important, and many, many other things. So the future is basically to see, when you are a student in the university, try to do well and check what is happening in the industry, learn it also. But also, in your free time, try also to get other information that will help you go forward. And I think that's what I can say. Thank you.
All right. Now, that brings me to now your institution, Mary University, given it's heavily founded on science and technology. And where these two are mentioned, research is always at the end of that equation. Now, we are living in a time where even the industry, the companies struggle when it comes to research and development. Given you are a university, you have the responsibility of imparting knowledge on all these graduates. On graduation date now, you have now given the power to confer knowledge. Looking at the aspect of research in your institution and all the other universities, what are you doing to actually just make sure you are staying afloat and ensuring that the research part does not suffer because funding, on the other hand, is still a problem?
Thank you very much, Wambui. Thank you. It's like you're reading my mind. Mary University of Science and Technology is a science and technology university. It's an entrepreneurial, it's a training, it's a research university. I hope you underline those words: entrepreneurial, training, and research university. That means those three components are very important. At Mary University of Science and Technology, our council, led by Professor Munari Busire, has insisted whatever budget we have, we always have to put at least 10% for research. And this money, we normally use it to give internal researchers from my people a seed money, so that we are able to grow these young people to know how to do research.
Yes.
So there's at least 10%. And that 10%, we also use it for putting some little money for innovation. You get this? Because there's also innovation aspect. And final part of it is also used now to do some startups and, some development of the products that can find their way into commercialization.
Yes.
I've tried this in the last 3 and 6 months I've been there, and it is yielding a lot of research work. The second one now, because we have now incubated quite a number of people, we have also now packaged people together, sent people together, my professors, my lecturers, to be having research teams at the department and at the schools. The idea is whenever there's a grant call, external grant call, you put them together, they write proposal. Let me tell you, Wambui,
yes,
kuna pesa huko nje. There's a lot of money. I have staff in my university research groups that bring in between 100 million, 70 million, 60 million, 50 million, even 150 million. So that's another thing we are trying to do. And so our council, which is actually the trustee of the government on behalf of running the university, has also now made it a mandatory every year. All staff must sign a performance contract that tells us what research are you doing, what innovation are you doing, how many research grants do you intend to apply. By the way, the internal research grant is only for the first timers.
Okay.
Once you get it, Wambui has got it this year, then the next time you are supposed to grow up. You are weaned out. Now you know how to write a research proposal. You should go and now compete for research grants outside there.
Go forth and seek.
Yeah, that's what we are doing.
Okay.
And the last one I want to say, we are the only public university in Kenya whose chancellor decided to build an innovation center, research, development, and entrepreneurship and innovation center. Now, that center is actually answering to the need of the university in terms of research, in terms of training, in terms of entrepreneurship, in terms of innovation, in terms of startups, in terms of commercialization. And we are very grateful, Kenyans, if we can have people like our Chancellor, Dr. James Mwangi, the CEO of Equity Bank, somebody who is selfless, somebody who can come out philanthropically speaking and actually challenge that. Whenever I go there and see what our students are achieving through this, That's where they now practice the things they have learned in class theoretically. They do their innovation there, they develop their products there, and I think the future is bright. And for us as Meru University of Science and Technology, we are forever grateful to Dr. James Mwangi, our Chancellor. Thank you.
All right. Now, given you are a science and technology university, you're also alive to the fact that you are based in Meru, and agriculture is a heavy aspect of Meru County. How are you as an institution aligning to the needs of your community to just also give forth, they say you spill over, aligning with the agricultural needs of that particular area, and also given it's part of the Big Four agenda when it comes to food security at large?
Thank you, Wambui. Meru University of Science and Technology is so critical to the Meru community. It has the name of the community. Let me tell you, you Kenyans don't know. They are Meru in Tharaka, they are Meru all over. But the only university with the community, they are all Merus. The only university with the community name is Meru University. And so the question you are asking is, what is it that we do to the community? There are many things.
Yes.
Number one, there are farmers' days, open days. Farmers' open days. Every year we invite the farmers around. And Meru as a community, just like in Kikuyu land where I lived, I don't know whether Wambui you are a Kikuyu. Kikuyu wanapenda kutafuta pesa, a business, and there you beat all Kenyans. Meruans are aggressive in farming and looking for money. Sorry, Meruans, don't do. I think I'm talking good about you. Very aggressive people. They are good farmers. And so every year, when we have open farmers day, they come and we take them through on the state of research, the state of agricultural trend and all the rest.
Yes.
Like one of the things we have done is, how do you use waste to make manure? Because Kenyans are becoming very sensitive in terms of the food they eat, and you have heard of organic foods and all the rest. So quite a number of, in our Sanitation and Research Institute, my director, Madam Joy Riunga, I'm sure she could be watching me wherever she is, keep on bringing the farmers around just to train them on safety in terms of the manure you use and how you can make organic manure and all the rest. But also in terms of agricultural husbandry, what is it that is done? And I have very many professors in our School of Agriculture and Food Science, what we call SAFs. And this is something that they do. The research that our people do. Like I know Kenyans think, every part of Meru is Mira. And yet Mira is only one place. I have professors in my Department of Agriculture, Department of Horticulture, and their main research is basically on add value addition on Mira. How do you grow it? How do you produce that Mira? How do value add so that a beautiful lady like Wambui today does not just chew it and like a goat. I'm sorry, Wambui. We are doing this, and the farmers are coming up in big numbers. And so we have started through the support of the Kenyan government and my council. We have established what we call a Mila Research Institute, somewhere in Lari, towards Labset. And the main idea is to train farmers on the husbandry of Mira, the type of the varieties and how you can take care of it so that at the end of it, you get good yield. We are at the border of Kenya towards the semi-arid areas. The main animals there are camels. The Turkanas have a lot of animals and all the rest. We do a lot of research in camel milk research, a lot of it. And the value addition, we are now moving the council through our chair, Professor Bosire, is now shaping us to move towards also leather technology because there are so many animals. I think we have over 50% of livestock in this country towards those sides. Now, how do you make use of the hides? How do you make use of the skin? That is leather technology. And so we are targeting our researchers really to work on this and tell the farmers how they can make sure that the animal they have produces a good skin, produces a good hide, because it is the quality of the skin and the hide. I know Kenyans do not know the difference. That make a difference in terms of the money you'll get from that skin, you'll get from that side. So all my people are doing that. Thank you.
That is beautiful. Now, as we draw closer and closer to the end of this conversation, we are still in a time where our education system system is trying to recover straight from the children up to the higher level of learning. We're trying to recover lost time, and we're also in a very sensitive time in terms of general elections, politicking all over the place. Looking at this space that we are in, what will be your message to the students, the parents, and the politician in line with the state of education in our country?
Thank you, Wambui. In this country, we have politics every 5 years. But Kenyan life has to continue. There are things that we cannot play with. One of them is education. Education for our children, from preschool up to university. In fact, education is from womb, when you have a baby in your womb, up to the tomb when you are dying. So anything about education, if I'm a politician, I'm talking about it, please talk something you have researched on. That I would like to, as a professor, I said it earlier on.
Yes.
Don't just talk because you are dealing with Kenyans' life. A poor person, father and parent, my father Otieno, would not have seen me in the TV and being a vice chancellor if I did not go to school. But it is the school, it's the education which is an equalizer. For an Odhiambo who is a vice chancellor right now, and for a poor person in Moyale, a poor person in Lamu, in Muranga, name it, a poor person in Masaini, it is education which is an equalizer for everybody. So anybody opening his mouth or her mouth in terms of education, give message of hope and comment on something very well. For my students in Meru University and all students, we are in the age of politics right now. Sometimes you are used as young people for violence and many, many other things. Please, you have gone to school. Allow people to market their political ideologies, their manifestos, and because you are sharp, choose. Your role is only to go and cast your vote. But don't allow yourself to be used by politicians to cause violence and to do so many things. Okay. Focus on your life as an academician, focus on your life as a student, because what you do in wherever you are, be it in high school, be it in the university, be it in a college, is what is going to determine how you will be. You never know that you will be our Uhuru Muigai, you never know that you will be our Ruto, you never know that you will be our Raila, you never know that you will be our Professor Odhiambo, the Vice Chancellor of Meru, 20, 30, 40 years from now. And all that depends on the academic that you are going through today. For our parents, please, let's encourage students. Let's encourage our students. Let us be role model. I always remember my mother, she's long gone, she's dead. She never went to school. And she used to say, my son, go to school, go to school. And there was a time we used to be sent away from the school because of we were paying, I think, 30 shillings per year. And hiyo pesa ya kuwako. So she could make alcohol and the police come and arrest her. And some people pay her debt 10 shillings. That's what I used to go and pay. Today, I think it's really celebrating us. So the parents, you can inspire your children, even if you didn't go to school, the way my mother and my father, who was a drunkard, inspired me. You have a role to really focus the children. The problem we have in this country is that the parents, sometimes we have abdicated our responsibility. We don't counsel, we don't give a message of hope to our children. Thank you very much, Wambui.
Fantastic. Now, before we get to close this conversation, just as a point of clarification, last week one of the dailies did print out a story that was indicating 9 universities, public universities, got funding. And we know funding has been a major issue when it comes to institutions of higher learning. What was your reaction to that particular story? Because, I mean, your institution is a public university.
Thank you, Wambui. I got that. I went into the office, and Sarah, my public relation officer, always makes sure that I have newspaper. That's what I see, the first thing.
Front page.
The front page. And I went through it, and I was concerned because it was just the universities that are known in this country. Nairobi, JKU, where I was for 27 years, Egerton, you know, KU, Moi, they are getting money. Na jina langu ya Meru akwa huko. So I checked, I followed up.
Yeah. And
let me tell you, it is all lie. We have signed a CBA with the government, 2017-2020, 21. And that CBA was saying that the government was to give 8.8 billion to fund personnel costs in the university. I hope you hear me, Wambui.
Yes.
Now, up to this time, now they are putting it in the newspaper. The government has released 8.6 billion. Tuko pamoja?
Kabisa.
Now, in this supplementary budget, the 200 million that remained is the one that is now going to be released. So I get it very well. And that 200 million, hata mimi, mabibi na mabwana, Meru, hata yangu, niko na yangu. So it knows that those 9 university.
Yes.
I would like to plead to you guys in journalism, my good friends, you are good friends, that I think we also need to do research. Whatever we are putting in the newspaper, we should also do proper research. I've told my journalism and communication students that please, when you report something, make sure that you go and check so that you report the right thing. I think that's the information. But that, now that you have raised that,
sure,
it is not going to be enough. The 8, even if we get that 200 million, the deficit, the financial deficit, the financial challenges in public institutions and private institutions is real and live. And as I've always said, I really plead to all stakeholders, including our government, that please think about, especially universities, countries that have developed, have put a lot of money in the universities. And so you have seen in the last 1 year, a lot of picketing, a lot of industrial strikes everywhere. And sometimes people think it is us, the Vice Chancellor, we are not able to manage the university. That is the problem. Because even this 8.8 billion, there's still maybe almost 50%, which is still outside there. The workers want you to give them the money. The money has not come. But I'm very happy. I think our ministry is working very hard on this, together with the government, to see how eventually we'll close the gap. But for the staff in all universities, I think Kenya is our country. I've kept on telling my staff in Meru University, we are only in one boat called Kenya. If you rock it so much, I come from the lake next to Mouru Bay, the boat can capsize. And if you don't know how to swim and bootstrap, you will die. So we can only work together and make sure that this country called Kenya, this university is called Meru University, and whichever university, we stay afloat without capsizing. And that requires peace, that requires support from all stakeholders. Then when we have a nice environment, the donors will bring money.
Yes.
The staff will sit down and write proposal na pesa itakuja. And even your employer, the council, will start not only coming to the university to address picketing notices, but they'll be thinking strategically on what is it that we need to do to make sure that our staff are comfortable. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being with us today. Remember, this has been all about the state of our institutions of higher learning, understanding where we are so far, just taking stock, because we are yet to do that, and this has been that particular opportunity. We have been speaking with Professor Romanas Odhiambo, who is the Vice Chancellor of Meru University of Science and Technology. Ladies and gentlemen, that is all the time we had for this discussion. Thank you so much for being with us. See you tomorrow. Have a fantastic rest of your day.
Happy Valentine's.
Happy Valentine's.
I won't. I am not accepting it, and I will most certainly not stay quiet about it.
Please, Grandma.
Alonso, can we talk?
I'm not interested in talking.
I'm going to do everything in my power so that I can break up this forced engagement. I won't allow my grandson to suffer like his mother did. And I promise you they won't.
Promise that not only will I give you back your dream, but that I will also be a really big part of it.
Lying heart.